All right, gentlemen, welcome to the NBA draft. We got a lot to talk about. Hopefully, some NBA draft trades tonight. Cooper Flag obviously becoming a Laker. Kidding, Mavericks. Gonna become a Maverick, obviously. We got Dylan Harper probably going number two. We're gonna follow it through TweetDeck, keep up with what Shams is talking about, what Chris Haynes is talking about. If we'll keep up with the draft live and the draft picks, talk if they're good draft picks, if the fit's good for every team. If we don't like the fit, maybe the Lakers straight up for a draft pick or two. We'll find out. We'll go through all of it. So leave your comments about who you think is going to go top 1 through 3. I'm excited to talk about the NBA draft. One of my favorite times of the year. I don't know about you guys, but even without the Lakers having a draft pick, I'm always interested in the draft. Love to see where the young prospects go to and what teams they end up with, even if the Lakers don't have a draft pick. But from Shams, we actually do have our first draft pick trade of the night. The Spurs are trading their number 38th overall draft pick to the Pacers for a future second round draft pick and cash. So like I've talked about in videos, the Lakers have done a similar trade to that in the past. Back in 2022, if I remember correctly, that's how they got Max Christie, trading with the Orlando Magic, trading a future second round draft pick, their second round draft pick that year, and cash for the 35th overall draft pick. So it definitely is a possibility. Maybe they could do that. And another thing to note here, if you don't remember, the NBA draft is a 2-night thing this year. The first round being tonight, second round being tomorrow night. So if you're waiting for that Lakers 55th overall pick or them to make a different second round pick if they get one, we will be waiting a little bit longer. Tonight's the first round, tomorrow's the second round, so a little bit more of a 2-day thing. But yeah, leave your comments about what you want the Lakers to do, what you want every other team about the Mavericks to do. I think we know what they're going to do and who they're going to take at number 1, Cooper Flag. But let me know what you guys are thinking about the draft, who your favorite draft targets, draft prospects. Again, for the Lakers, not the Lakers, whatever you want to talk about. We'll get to it. We'll break down everything here. Hopefully more trades, though. I'm looking forward to that. Shams can give us more than just a second round draft pick trade here. Looking forward to some lottery pick trades. I've heard a lot about the Brooklyn Nets. They have 5 first round draft picks now. I think they're probably going to trade 1 or 2 of them. Maybe move up, maybe move out to the draft, maybe trade for a different player. Should be a lot of action tonight. Comments, not a face reveal, guys. This is, I think, my 15th, probably even more, live stream. I don't do them very often, but anytime the NBA draft comes around, trade deadline I did one for, occasionally after a Lakers game. I do them more throughout the preseason and summer league, but not a face reveal, my friends. All right, get to a few of your comments. Chances the Mavericks trade the number 1 overall pick. That would be very funny, and I think Nico Harrison would probably be fired on the spot, but I don't think they'll be doing that. Cooper Flag, generational talent, is a no-brainer first overall draft pick in my opinion. I don't think there's any debate about that. They won't be trading their first overall pick. From a few people from the Philippines. Shout out Philippines. Love my Filipino viewers. Appreciate y'all. Again, not a face reveal, guys. I've done about 15 live streams. Hope we move into the first round. I don't know if I'd say that. I think it would be interesting. I know the popular trade target that fans have been talking about if they would trade for a first round pick is Kayman Maliwak, if I pronounce that right. But the big man from Duke, 7'2" guy, theoretically a good lob threat, theoretically a good rim protector. Always a risk when trading for any draft pick, any player in general. But if you're trading for a young player, a one and done freshman coming out of college, some might hit. You might get a Derek Lively, but you then again might get a guy that has a 2-year NBA career and doesn't get a second contract. So definitely a lot of risk if they would do that. I wouldn't hate it to, give Luka kind of that Derek Lively kind of guy again, a young center that would fit his timeline pretty well, but maybe not their best route to take in my opinion. More comments here. You do not want the Lakers to trade Rui or Dalton Connect. Oh, you're talking about the Wiggins trade. I mean, that's everyone's got differing opinions about Wiggins. I think no matter what you can't argue against is the fit, in my opinion, for the Lakers. I mean, in my opinion, anyways. 3-and-D player, good defender. Is he that primary first option defender yet, like he was in 2022 with Golden State? Debatable. I think he definitely could be. Isn't past his prime yet. No matter what, though, you're getting a good third, fourth scoring option, a really good defender, no matter how you cut it, a good three-point shooter, and literally what the Lakers need, in my opinion, so he should be at the top of their list. If you're giving up Rui, that's debatable. If you could somehow get away with just trading the expiring contracts of Kleba, Vincent, Milton, then maybe a first-round swap, I'd love that. I know probably every other Laker fan would probably like that, but might take Hachimura, might not. Can Lakers get Nikola Jokic in the draft? Maybe a Nikola Jokic-esque kind of player. Maybe there'll be another 40 whatever draft pick he was with a Taco Bell commercial going on. Maybe there'll be another Nikola Jokic like that. Should we trade up with cash from new owner to move up to 38-40 range to get a backup center? Yeah, that would be my ideal route. The only thing I'll kind of correct you on is that when you're trading cash in the NBA, it's not a matter of how much money the owner has. Every NBA team has, I think, $7 million roughly dollars to spend with cash per year. You can put that toward a draft pick. You can put that toward just including that in a trade to incentivize a different team. You can use it to salary dump a player, and a couple other ways you can use it too, but it's not really a matter of how rich or how poor your ownership is. Every team has cash that they can trade with. But yes, I would like for them to move up via cash with the second round draft pick. I'm not sure they could get to that 38 to 40 range, but maybe they could get to about 45-50. They bought a 47th overall draft pick for guys like Jordan Clarkson, Talen Horton-Tucker in the past. But if you're getting to that 30-40 range, usually you have to include a future second round draft pick too, which at the moment they don't really have. No more trades yet, no more updates. We should be getting the Cooper Flag notification pretty quick. NBA draft should start any minute, but I'll get to a few more of you guys' questions and comments here. You'd rather trade for Walker Kessler? Yeah, wouldn't we all? Is it even worth moving up in the first round? That's kind of my point with it too. Is it worth it depending on what you'd have to trade? I'm not so sure it would be. I think you'd probably have to trade not only their 2031 future first round draft pick, which obviously we don't know where they'll be at that point. Maybe that could be a lottery pick for them. And if they're trading that, the highest they could probably get would be probably in the 15 to 20 range. They're not going to get a lottery pick with it. Then with that, you probably have to attach Dalton Connect simply to get into that lottery pick range. So probably not worth it in my opinion. If you're going to get up to maybe a top 5 to 10 pick, then I guess think about it. But if you're only going to get a 15th to like 20th overall pick by trading 2031 and Dalton Connect, I say don't do it at that point. Blake Hinson, that's a name I've not heard in about a year now. Oh man, I can't read all of you guys' trade ideas, but there are a few of them. Okay, draft talk talking about Yannick Konen. Yep, I'd be down for that one for sure. Yannick Konen, Niederhauser, if you're not familiar with him, I made a video on him. He's been shooting up in the draft pretty quickly. I think when I made my video on him, he was projected to go, I think, about 45th overall. Now, if you look on a mock draft, he's anywhere from 25th to 35th. So if they get him, it would take trading up to the early second round, maybe a late first round draft pick. I really like him. I think he's kind of a lot of people like to compare him to Jackson Hayes simply from the way he looks. And I'll pull up. Let me pull up my screen here. You guys can follow along with me. I'll show you what Yannick Konen Niederhauser looks like if you don't know. People compare him to Jackson Hayes quite often. Doesn't have his updated hair. Anyway, what he actually can do and what he can offer is more than Jackson Hayes, in my opinion. He weighs more than him. This is not an accurate measurement. At the combine, he measured in at 7 foot 242, if I remember correctly, and is a much better rim protector than Hayes, better rebounder than Hayes, only in 25 minutes per game during his junior year in college, grabbing roughly over 6 rebounds per game, well over 2 blocks per game, led the entire Big Ten in blocks per game, is an athletic freak, had a 37-inch vertical leap at the draft combine, best of any big man by far, so I think that'd be a really fun target for them. Could be a good pairing with Luka Doncic, potentially, so I think it would be a good fun fit and fairly realistic too. Alright though, we don't have the Cooper Flag announcement quite yet, but we know it's coming. We know it's coming. Comment about I should make an NBA channel for the whole league. I do actually have one. I don't post as frequently on there, but I do have an NBA channel called JSM Plus. If you want to check it out, it's in, I think, every video description I make of every video, so you can check that one out. Thomas Sorber. I like that name. I don't think they'll be able to get him. He'll probably be a late first round draft, or even mid first round draft pick. If you're not familiar with Thomas Sorber, I nearly talked about him, but he'll very likely be gone by any point the Lakers have, even if they would trade for a draft pick. Is a one and done freshman, but showed a lot of potential at Georgetown. Measured at roughly 6'10" with a 7'6" wingspan at the draft combine. Can do everything from rim protection, he can switch on defense, good low post scoring threat, has a fairly good low post game and good mid-range game, is a lob threat, so don't want to talk about him too much because I'd like the Lakers to get him and they obviously can't get him. Very unlikely, but any team that gets him I think he'll work out pretty well. Do I think the Lakers are drafting Amari Williams? I wouldn't mind it. He's definitely a potential option at pick number 55. He's mocked anywhere from roughly 45th to going undrafted. I think likely he'll be a second round draft pick, probably a 50 to 55th overall draft pick. I'm a big fan of Amari Williams. I think that's the first draft prospect I talked about through a video. I like his rebounding ability. Is, I think, a top 3 to top 5 rebounder the entire draft, in my opinion. The guy grabbed 8.5 of them per game in only 23 minutes per game during his final year of college last year. That translated into roughly 15 per 40 minutes. That's a pretty rough estimation, but the guy's a really good rebounder, is pretty athletic, can be a lob threat. I would say he isn't the most skilled big in the draft. His touch around the rim isn't too great, but probably won't have to do too much of that at the NBA level. Will be simply a lob threat, dump off guy around the rim, offensive rebounder, so I'd be fine with that draft pick if they would stay put at 55. I'd like it, actually. A few more of your picks. Excuse me. Thomas Sorber, yeah, I like that. Like that pick for whatever team will get him anyway. Lakers probably won't though. In point guards, what should the Lakers pick? If they would draft a point guard, I think Lakers Nation would absolutely go crazy in a bad way. They'd call for Rob Pelinka's head. If they pull another Jalen Hood-Schifino draft pick, Laker fans would not be happy. I'll say that. NBA front office pulled off the Luka for Cooper Flag AD trade. I've seen a lot about that. That's kind of funny. Is the draft lottery rigged? Maybe. I think even LeBron's talked about that, but I'm going to choose not to think that way, so I don't think everything's rigged, but who knows, maybe. It's pretty convenient, though. I will agree with that part. Do I watch this? I think you mean the LA Sparks. I'm not too up to date with WNBA. I watched a little bit of Caitlin Clark purely from the hype and everything, but not too caught up with the WNBA, so I can't talk too much. For a backup center with the mini mid-level exception, how would I rank Clint, Cornette, and Brook? I'd probably go Luke Cornette. That's not the popular pick for many people, but I think he's the most productive at this point. Clint's a little bit past his prime. I'm not going to say completely washed up, but definitely not what he was. Brooks, obviously 37 or about to be 37. Still fairly productive, but I'd probably put Cornette at 1, Lopez at 2, and Capella at 3. With the only side note with that is that Capella's the best lob threat by far between them, and that's kind of what they're looking for a big, at least offensively. Luke Cornette's a decent lob threat, better than Brook Lopez by far. But if you're simply going off the vertical threat center and guy that probably will be available for that price, you could put Capella at 1. I won't be mad at you. But simply from production and what they could offer from a overall production standpoint, I'd probably go Cornette 1, Lopez 2, kind of interchangeable between them, and then Capella 3. But I don't hate any of them, and they're all decent options for that price. A little more draft talk in here, guys, preferably, but I'll try to get to all of your questions. Do I think Sims would be a good third choice big on a vet minimum? Yeah, if you're talking about a third center, I like that for them, meaning Jericho Sims, I imagine. Obviously, really athletic, good vertical athlete, good lob threat, decent rim protector, but if you're talking about a starter or a direct backup center, not the biggest fan of it, in my opinion. He's kind of limited to simply being a vertical threat, and that's pretty much it. Not to knock on him too much, but isn't the best defender in general, isn't the best rebounding big, simply is very athletic and kind of causes mayhem around the rim, but that's kind of about it. Okay, no Cooper Flag pick yet. Per usual, ESPN does their normal 15-20 minute delay for all things broadcast. No draft day trades apart from the one we talked about. If you're just getting in the live stream, the Spurs did trade their 38th overall draft pick for a future second round draft pick via the Indiana Pacers. So nothing too crazy yet. Maybe there'll be some first round draft pick trades. Maybe Boston might trade a guy like Jaylen Brown yet. We've heard about that. Maybe Derek White. Who knows? Could be some draft day trades. Okay. Are the Atlanta Hawks good now? I don't know. Good is kind of a relative thing. Are they good enough to make the playoffs? Maybe. Especially in a weakened East with the Pacers being down Halliburton, the Celtics trading away a bulk of their core, being down Tatum. I think they could be a playoff team. I don't know if I'd say they're a contender with Porzingis now on the team, but I think they improved slightly. Do I think Bronny will get more minutes? That depends on who they pick up in their backcourt. If they pick up a backup point guard like a Chris Paul or a Malcolm Brogdon, then probably not. Or even if they sign another shooting guard, kind of combo guard like a Bruce Brown, then probably not. But if they can't get that, then if they simply go after a center and bigger 3-and-D wing, that might open up a pathway for Bronny. Probably only 5 to 10 minutes at most, and that's probably the most I would be okay with, but maybe, depending on how they kind of change up their team. Okay. Do I think the Lakers will make moves? Do I think more? I hope they do. I think we all hope they do. I think they kind of have to in some ways, not only with a trade to change up their team, but they literally have to sign players in free agency. Right now they have 11 guys under contract, so no matter what kind of moves you're talking about, they will make a few of them. Are they going to be the ones that we want in the trades that we want? Maybe, maybe not, but they do have to make a few moves. They're going to make a few free agent signings. I don't think they're probably going to bring back guys like maybe Jackson Hayes. I've talked about it. There are some rumors saying that they might, if Hayes can't find a better offer, then they'll bring him back for a veteran minimum. But more likely than not, they're going to try to pick up a better option at backup center. We've heard endlessly again about guys like Capella, Brook Lopez, Luke Cornett, even Al Horford. Guys like that they might try to replace him with, but they're going to make moves. I hope they make moves, and even apart from the basic ones to simply fill out their team. Cooper number 1, did he go yet? We're waiting for it. I mean, we all know what's going to happen. Okay, he did officially get selected first overall. Cooper Flagg has become a Dallas Maverick. The thing we all knew would happen, but now it's official. The Luka Doncic trade has been partially completed. Let's officially pull up the Cooper Flagg. Let's just pull up the Cooper Flagg jersey swap to begin with. This is what we're looking at for maybe the next 10 to 15 years if everything works out for them. I don't know. What do you guys think? Will Cooper Flagg be a generational prospect, or will he be just simply good, not great? Or do you think he'll be an Anthony Bennett to where it doesn't work out? I think he'll be pretty damn good. He looks pretty generational in my opinion. I don't know if he'll be LeBron level of great. Obviously, that's quite a hurdle to get to. But I think he'll definitely be a top 10, 15 NBA player. I think that could be a pretty, I'm not going to say a safe floor for him, but his potential, I think what he could get to. Can do literally everything on the court. Is 6'9" on top of it. Has some point guard ability. Good defender. Even good help side rim protector. Watched quite a bit of Cooper Flagg in college, and if you even watch him throughout the NCAA tournament, he showed everything. Defense, offense, playmaking, scoring ability, three-point shooting. The guy can literally do it all. So I think we all agree on that pick. I wonder if Shams is even going to be live tweeting. The only one that's actually tweeted about Cooper Flagg so far has been Mark Stein. Refresh my tweet deck here quick. Yeah, I don't know if Shams is even going to be live tweeting. The move to ESPN just got him fully on TV now. Cooper not generational. You don't think he's Wemby or Braun, more Kawhi Pippen level, which is still good. Yeah, I don't think that's a bad take by any means. I don't know if he'll be quite to that Kawhi Leonard or Scottie Pippen defensive level, but if you're talking about simply his ceiling and kind of all-time rankings or how people view him, I don't think that's a bad take. It's obviously really difficult for any player to become a top 10 NBA player of all time, and I think that gets handed out a little bit too lightly. But Cooper Flagg definitely has the ability to do everything on the court that could potentially get him to that level. But I'm not mad at anyone saying that he's more of a Kawhi Leonard. That's still a pretty damn good comparison or outlook for him. Do you think he plays like a vet over a year ago when... Okay, you're talking about the Team USA camp kind of thing. Yeah, I remember hearing about that and seeing that too. How much the vets on the team were complimenting him and saying how good he is already without even being in college yet. So Cooper Flagg's going to be pretty good. All right, well, on to the unpredictable now. I think Dylan Harper is a pretty safe bet to go number 2 overall. After, Cooper Flag, we got that finished with. Let's just pull up the latest NBA mock draft. I was looking at an ESPN one before I hopped on here and see how they think it's going to pan out and see or how you guys feel maybe differently about it. I had a few disagreements with it. Like I said, Dylan Harper, number 2. I think that's a pretty sure bet to go to San Antonio. I think if anything with the Spurs, the bigger question for them is what do they do after they take this draft pick? There were rumors that came out, I think, yesterday about if they're going to keep their second overall pick, if they'll trade it, even after they take him, will they trade him? Or might they think about trading De'Aaron Fox now that they might take a point guard kind of in Dylan Harper? So that's something to kind of watch with them. What do they do and how do they change their team up, or do they keep both the draft pick and De'Aaron Fox? Could be interesting. But like I said, I think Dylan Harper is a pretty safe bet to go number 2. If anything, I'm looking at, number 3. A lot of people think BJ Edgecombe is pretty locked into number 3. I think at one time it was a bigger argument between Edgecombe and Ace Bailey. But if you haven't been following the draft and don't really know anything about the draft prospects, Ace Bailey has yet to do any draft workout with any team. I think he only had one scheduled, and he didn't show up for it or decided last minute to not do it. Yeah, ESPN kind of talks about it here. The only U.S. prospect who has yet to visit an NBA team facility. Declined workouts with Philadelphia, Charlotte, Utah, seemingly preferring the group of teams ranked outside the top 5. So that's interesting. Might it be a Ron Holland situation from last year, where he kind of tried to get picked outside the top 5 to go to a better team? He ended up on Detroit. That's yet to be seen if it's a good fit for him, but that's kind of the situation I'm feeling with Ace Bailey here, that he'll get taken between 5 to 8 rather than 3 to 4 to 5. I think he probably should go from a talent level, but that's a really interesting one. Okay, back to a few of your questions for a little bit of Lakers talk. We'll keep the draft here. Okay, we got a rumor quick, though. I mean, we've already heard this, but the Bulls are looking to trade Lonzo Ball or Kobe White. That's interesting, though, saying that they're trading one or the other, not both. I think the bigger bet is obviously Lonzo Ball compared to Kobe White, but there have been reports that they don't want to trade, or they might not want to pay Kobe White with how cheap their ownership is. I know we tend to complain about Jeannie Buss and how cheap she is, but if you want a really cheap ownership group, look to the Chicago Bulls. I think they've paid luxury tax one time in their entire franchise history, so that's a pretty cheap franchise right there. Okay, but back to a few of your questions. Okay. If Reeves would get traded, would you be okay with Chris Paul or Tyus Jones as a backup? Yeah, at that point I'd be fine with it for a backup, not for a starter. But yeah, I think that's probably who they'd be looking at for a backup point guard. I don't think they trade Austin Reeves, but if they would, and if they wouldn't get a point guard back for him, then yeah, you could go with CP3 or Tyus Jones at that point. Wouldn't be a bad option. Okay. All the Clippers had to do was keep Shea. For real though, them trading trading for Paul George put OKC at the top. It took 7 years for them to get there, but it is really funny about all the teams that traded Paul George, how good they are, between the Pacers and the OKC Thunder. Literally the two teams in the NBA Finals, and they're kind of there partially from trading PG. That's so funny to me. You think the Spurs should have traded the second pick for Giannis? That's a interesting topic, or point, but I'm kind of falling behind here with the draft. I realized the second pick was made. That was Dylan Harper, like we talked about, but the third pick came in now that Shams is finally tweeting, and it is VJ Edgecombe to Philadelphia. So they kind of have a, I'm not going to say a logjam with their backcourt because I think they will be trading Paul George and they just have Tyrese Maxey back there. But VJ Edgecombe is a pretty interesting pick for them. If he would have worked out for them, I think Ace Bailey might have been the better fit, especially if they do trade Paul George, which they're trying to do. But BJ Edgecombe is a pretty talented player too. I can't say I watched too much of him at Baylor, but is a good point of attack defender. I know that. Is a good shot creator. Is a one and done freshman, a 19-year-old, so quite a lot of potential that he could maybe get to yet. Average 15 points a game during his freshman year. Efficiency a little bit up and down, nearly 44% from the field, 34% from three. Does have a little bit of point guard ability. Is kind of more of a shooting guard, combo guard in my opinion, but it should be a decent fit for them, I guess. I, again, still kind of prefer the Ace Bailey if he would have wanted to go to their team. I get it. He didn't work out with them and didn't show any indication of wanting to play with their team. So do you want to draft a guy like that? Maybe not. So don't hate the pick for them, but I guess we'll watch how it plays out. You think Ace Bailey should go to Washington? They have a solid roster with Bane to the... Okay, a little bit confusing comment. You think Ace Bailey should go to Washington, but then you talking about the Magic roster with Bane, Franz, Bancaro? Okay, I think you're confused about which team Okay, I think you just commented that a little bit funny. But I think the Wizards would be a pretty good fit for Ace Bailey. I think they have a lot of weird veterans on their team right now. If you didn't see, they traded for CJ McCollum the other day. So now they have a combination of CJ McCollum, Chris Middleton. Do they have Marcus Smart yet too? So they got a bunch of veterans on their team and they're trying to be a rebuilding team. So little bit of a weird direction for them. I imagine they probably trade a couple of them or maybe buy out a few of them. So who knows, I guess, but they have plenty of room for young talent on their team. Who got Ace Bailey? Nobody yet. Our new owner dropped buckets of cash on the Dodgers. I mean, yeah, he's had a majority ownership of them for half a decade now. But yeah, he knows how to spend money. I agree with that for sure. What do I think of? That's a name right there. I think you're referring to Sandro Mamukelashvili as a third choice big to stretch the floor. If I remember correctly, he had a pretty good end to the season, but I don't know if that's kind of a simply getting minutes for a bad team kind of thing. If I remember, he didn't play for a good team. Who did he actually finish with? Was it San Antonio? I think they picked him up. Yes, it was. He had a pretty good finish to the year, I know. I think he even had a good game against the Lakers pretty late too. But I mean, I wouldn't hate it if you come down to a non-guaranteed contract center for your third center. Then yeah, I wouldn't be completely opposed to it. Okay, we're waiting on the 4th overall draft pick now. Let's go back to our mock draft. If I remember correctly, a majority of people had Con Kneppel at number 4, and this mock draft is too. From Duke, great three-point shooter, pretty good off-ball player in general, decent on-ball playmaker here and there. You know, him playing next to Cooper Flagg showed how good he could play with a ball-dominant player, so would he be a good fit for a contender? Maybe. I've heard some reports saying that a few, younger contending teams, maybe the Spurs, for example, might take him to pair kind of with their good team that's kind of trying to be a contender but still pretty young yet. I think Kneppel would be a better fit for a team like that compared to Charlotte with kind of no direction at this point. Are they building around LaMelo Ball yet? Are they trading LaMelo Ball? Are they building around Brandon Miller? Do they even know what they're doing at this point? That's kind of the question for the Charlotte Hornets. Okay. Yeah, no, fourth pick has not come in yet. A tweet from NBA Central: Mavericks already selling Cooper Flag jerseys. Yeah, I don't blame them. They're going to try to get their money's worth for him. No trades yet, though. I thought for sure there might be a top 5 trade. There still could be. I guess the fourth pick hasn't come in yet or hasn't been tweeted out yet. Nope, I don't think so. We got 4-5 yet per the ESPN mock draft are maybe going to be Con Kneppel and Jeremiah Fears, 2 guards. Kneppel, Duke, combo guard, kind of more of a shooting guard, small forward, I guess. Jeremiah Fears being a point guard from Oklahoma. Again, I think Ace Bailey should probably be in that top 5, but he might fall out of that top 5 too. What do you guys think, though? How do you feel about the draft so far? Do you agree with the top 3 picks? How do you feel about Cooper Flag officially becoming a Dallas Maverick? Do you like the Dylan Harper pick to San Antonio? Do you like the BJ Edgecombe pick to Philadelphia? Not much has happened yet, but kind of the predictable has happened so far. You think BJ Edgecombe is kind of like a young Victor Oladipo? Yeah, I've seen that comparison floating around too. I'm not sure if he's quite that athletic, vertically anyway, but is a really good 3-and-D plus kind of player. Kind of like that Victor Oladipo, to where can be your best perimeter defender, but also can be your second option offensively. Yeah, I'd agree with that, maybe. Charlotte is taking a long time to take their pick. Maybe they're thinking about a draft day trade. Hoping for a trade to come in eventually. Ooh, that would be interesting. You have a feeling that the Hornets will draft Maliwak and trade Mark Williams. You know, if they do that, I think they'd trade back rather than taking Maliwak at 4th. I think that would be a bit of a reach. If they're going to do that, they probably trade back with... I've heard Washington might be willing to make a trade. Maybe they trade up for Con Kneppel or Jeremiah Fears. I don't know. Maybe they trade up to simply take Ace Bailey. So maybe the Jazz don't take him if you would fall to them. But yeah, that would be an interesting trade. And if they would get Kaman Maliwak, they probably would trade Mark Williams after that then, yeah. I kind of look like Austin Reeves. Anyone ever tell you that? No, I've not been told that. Part white, so I get it, but also mixed with a few other ethnicities too. Not gotten the Austin Reeves comparison though. It could definitely be worse though. I agree. I'll take it. But did the draft pick come in? Yep, number 4. The Hornets took Con Kneppel. Like I said, maybe not my favorite pick for them. He definitely has really good potential, but I think he's more of that second, third option offensively that fits really good with an on-ball player, like he showed at Duke. Obviously, yes, can create for himself, does have some on-ball game, but I think his ceiling is kind of that... Who would I compare him to? Maybe like a better Cam Johnson, or kind of that kind of comparison to really good off-ball player with some on-ball game. Can be a 18 to 20 point per game guy. And I think that's actually right on par with what Cam Johnson did this season. So yeah, I'd kind of compare him to a Cam Johnson plus. Maybe who's a different really good off-ball shooter that can do some on-ball stuff too. Kind of drawing a blank. But Yeah, I kind of think of Cam Johnson with Con Kneppel. Con's defense is a worry. Um, it's not been bad from what I've seen, but there's obviously a pretty big difference between college and the NBA. Will he be able to still be an above average defender, or does he now become an average to below average defender? That's something you could point to, I guess, too. Fifth pick in yet. Don't think we got the fifth overall pick. Beach Edgecombe, Cooper Flag. Nope, we're not there yet. Number 5, though, I've seen projections. Obviously, the one we're looking at here does have them taking Jeremiah Fears. That's a point guard for them, so if they would take Fears, or even if they would take Ace Bailey, then maybe they look to move off of... They're already trying to anyways, so I think it's even a more for sure bet. After the draft, they try to trade guys like Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, if they can trade them anyways even. Any of their backcourt veterans in general. Who even else does Utah have other than Clarkson and... let me pull up the... depth chart. I felt like they had another veteran guard, but maybe I'm tripping. Just for the hell of it, we'll pull up the trade machine too. The old cursed trade machine. Oh, I think I'm thinking of KJ Martin. Not really a veteran, but I wouldn't be shocked if they trade him too. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see who Utah takes. They've not drafted particularly well lately. Cody Williams had an all-time terrible rookie year. I think he had like a... Oh yeah, they do have the LeBron stat on here. Get a near -4 LeBron. That's absolutely terrible. Keontae George was pretty good, but his rookie year wasn't very good. Bryce Sensabaugh, he came on late, but he had a really rough start to his rookie year too. Isaiah Collier, I guess he played pretty good. He showed some good point guard ability for them. So I forgot about Isaiah Collier too. So if they would take Jeremiah Fears like this mock draft has them taking, that would be quite the logjam. Because I like Isaiah Collier. If they have him and Jeremiah Fears in the same backcourt, that's a little bit too much in my opinion. Okay. Will the Lakers make a move? Hopefully. We'll find out, I guess. Is Bruce Brown, Amir Coffey the best realistic mid-level exception? Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. I've talked about Bruce Brown. You could maybe put Malcolm Brogdon into that conversation. If he wasn't as injury prone, I'd maybe like him more than Bruce Brown if he was a little bit younger too. But Bruce Brown for that mid-level, I think that's a pretty good option for them. If, of course, they don't put it toward a center. Yeah, that's another good point, comment here about if Utah would draft Kaman Maliwalk, then trading Walker Kessler might even be a bigger priority for them. I'd agree with that. So we have a pretty important draft pick coming up here with Utah, given how often they've been reported as a trade partner for the Lakers through a trade. Okay, the number 5 pick is in. They have taken Ace Bailey. Interesting. So ESPN's mock here was not correct. I mean, not gonna knock them for it. I didn't think that they'd take a point guard at number 5, but Utah has taken Ace Bailey. They went with the wing option rather than a backcourt option, which I think is the right move for them. I don't know why they would kind of create that logjam. And then no, they didn't take Cayman Maliwalk. They didn't take a different front court player. They went with the wing option, which was their biggest need in my opinion. So I like the fit for them. He did refuse to work out for them. If you were here for the earlier part of my live stream, we've talked about Ace Bailey having yet to work out for any NBA team. Didn't work out for Philadelphia, Charlotte, or Utah. Declined Washington and New Orleans and Brooklyn too. So Utah is a team to take the bet on him. He didn't end up going the Cam Whitmore route where teams were afraid to take him and a little bit shy about what he might give to their team, given, Cam Whitmore actually did work out for a few teams, but Bailey didn't work out for anyone. So Utah took the chance, with Danny Ainge there and his now son there, I think too. I'm not going to say I hope it works out for them, but I like Ace Bailey, so not going to wish anything negative on him. Don't trade Austin or Dalton Connect. Maybe. I feel like they're not going to trade Austin. Probably they might have to trade Dalton Connect, but we've talked plenty about that already. Laker, I don't even want to read out what you typed there about the Claxton trade. If anyone would trade that much for Nick Claxton, that'd be a bad look. But yep, Ace Bailey, number 5 overall to the Utah Jazz. Good pick for them in my opinion again. Doesn't create too much of a logjam for them. Right now I think they're starting small forward. I think they finished off with Bryce Sensabaugh, if I remember correctly. Maybe they tried to go the triple big route of Kessler, Markkanen, and Collins for a little bit, but Markkanen was hurt for well over half the year, if I remember correctly. It doesn't really create a situation where they really have to trade anyone now. Ace Bailey fits pretty well into their team. Didn't take the big, it doesn't really increase their odds of trading Walker Kessler. That doesn't really change in my opinion. Doesn't really change the likelihood of them trading even Colin Sexton. They're still going to try to, but doesn't make it more likely or less likely. Just kind of a draft pick for them to keep. I like the pick for them, though. I won't lie. I think that will be a pick to... Okay, I was just going to talk about that. Okay, no, there is no trade. I thought the tweet said right here that there might be a trade. But official confirmation, Ace Bailey is going to the Utah Jazz, and it's not being traded. Interesting. Okay. A lot of people did think that he would end up in Washington, but Utah took him. Okay. Oh God, we got more trade talk. Would I do Rui, Gabe, Kleba, and a pick swap for DeAndre Ayton and Matisse Thybulle? Oof. I'd have to bring that one up in the trade machine, but I know there's been a lot of talk about DeAndre Ayton lately. The advanced stats really liked him last season, but I still kind of point to the fact that there's not a stat, and this is coming from a stat lover, that can point out commitment and locker room connection and actually having a good chemistry and bond with the team. I mean, if the Suns were that desperate to trade him and trade him for Yusuf Nurkic, there definitely is some character issues there with DeAndre Ayton. I like what he projects as a theoretical fit, and he even fits the timeline of Luka Doncic pretty well. I think DeAndre Ayton is, 25, 26 at this point? I guess we can even pull that up here. But I don't know. Isn't my favorite trade. I wouldn't hate it, given that they can maybe get him for a good price because of the big salary and expiring contract. I wouldn't hate it, but I still think I'd prefer Walker Kessler. Even if you could get Nick Claxton for an absolute bargain, I might prefer that even, just because it's a bit safer in my opinion. But I don't hate it. The fit's there with him. it's all about kind of the price and then the character issues with him. Will he actually be a good teammate? Will he form a good friendship or good partnership with Luka Doncic? Then how much do they resign him for? A lot of questions with DeAndre Ayton that kind of worry me. It's not really about the on-court fit, more about the off-court stuff. Don't forget to hit the like button. Yeah, smash that like button. I appreciate it. First time joining a live stream. What's up, dude? Appreciate it, bro. Appreciate you coming in, checking in. I've done a few live streams, but know it might be the first for a lot of you, so welcome to a live stream. I do them every now and again. Draft, trade deadline. Think we'll probably do free agency. I think I plan to do that too. But if it's your first live stream, welcome. Glad you're here hanging out. Let's talk NBA draft. Number 6 pick is not in yet. If I had to guess with Washington, they don't really have their point guard of the future. I wouldn't be shocked if they actually went with Jeremiah Fears. They traded Jordan Poole earlier yesterday. That was part of the CJ McCollum trade. So they don't really have a point guard right now. I mean, I guess Bub Carrington, I forgot about him. He could be their point guard of the future. Maybe they want to give him some competition with Jeremiah Fears. Maybe they go with that. They could go with Trey Johnson too. Some kind of more of a combo guard, but does have some point guard ability. I don't think they go the big route with Kaman Maliwak. That will probably be, I think he'll probably fall to 8. And after that point, then we can talk more about the Nets trading Nick Claxton. That would be a guarantee if they would take Kaman Maliwak. Even if the Pelicans, like this mock draft has them taking, would take Kaman Maliwak, then we could have a conversation about them trading the Baylor guy from last year who they took. Forgetting his name. V. Misi. We could have a talk about that then, but I think he'll probably fall to number 8. Did the Lakers trade up? Nope, they have not yet. I'm hoping they trade up to the second round at the bare minimum. Or if they don't do that, maybe trade out of the draft. Maybe trade their second round pick for some other kind of veteran role player, something like that. Combine it with a trade package. But no, they have not traded up or made a trade yet. Okay. You think Utah is asking a lot for Walker Kessler and there is no other news on Claxton? Yeah, that's pretty much it. I guess nothing really more to add to that. Claxton is available. I think we all know that. Depending on who they draft here, could be even more available. But yeah, he's available. Kessler is available for an otherworldly price from what we know, but I guess if you want to meet their asking price, then they both could be available. Kessler for an insane price, Claxton for I feel like would probably be a decent price, but you do have to take on the contract, which isn't great. Not terrible in my opinion, but not great. Also a few other flaws with him, but yeah, both are available. All right, we're waiting on number 6 here. What are your guys' predictions for the upcoming picks here? Who do you think Washington will take? Who do you think New Orleans will take or should take? And who do you think Brooklyn will take? Brooklyn, again, really the pick I'm watching here. Whoever they take could mean a few different guys in their team could then be traded thereafter. So really watching for that pick. We've heard some reports about the Toronto Raptors maybe trading their pick too. That was a conversation with the Kevin Durant trade. They apparently made an offer based around their number 9 overall draft pick. I think if I remember correctly, something like RJ Barrett, 9th overall pick, probably salary filler after that point, but they could be a team that trades their draft pick too. So I guess watch out for that. If I had to guess here, though, for number 6, I think Washington probably goes Jeremiah Fears for simply the value pick. Maybe they take Trey Johnson, but probably Jeremiah Fears here. Why do I always call Rui a bad defender or below average? I mean, simply from what I see and what the numbers say, he's below average, I guess. Don't want to, if you're saying that he's a good defender, I would disagree with you. If you want to put him as average, I guess you could kind of say that. It really depends on the defensive role you put him in. The current role that he is in for their team, I would call him a pretty below average defender. You know, simply put, isn't a switchable defender, can't take on small forwards or shooting guards, and that's kind of what he currently has to do, playing with both LeBron, Luka, and Austin. Not really a good fit for him, and that's kind of the indictment on him from me. Simply can't move his feet that well, isn't good at containing even the post that well. Isn't, again, a terrible defender, but there's really not one good thing that Hachimura does on defense. Again, not really throwing shade at him here, it's just kind of what I see and kind of the truth with him. I mean, if you like defensive BPM rating, he's never ranked as a positive defender. Even last year, his best defensive year was a negative 0.6. If I remember, for defensive EPM rating, which we could pull up, but it would take me a while to find it, I think he had a negative 0.5 EPM, so pretty similar to BPM. No matter what we look at it, just not a great defender, kind of in that average to below average rate. Did the pick come in? Some of you are saying Trey Johnson. I wouldn't be shocked if they do take Trey Johnson, though. I've not seen anything yet. Oh no, are you messing with me? Did they actually take Trey Johnson? I don't think they have yet. Good prediction though. I think they'll think about it. They're probably thinking pretty heavily about it if they want to take Jeremiah Fears or Trey Johnson here. I don't think they take Cayman Maluak with they took Alex Sarr. I guess you maybe could try and pair them. Sarr is, not a big center, could play power forward a little bit. I guess I wouldn't be shocked by that, but I think probably Fears or Trey Johnson here for them. Do I think it's possible for the Lakers to trade for Jalen Duren? Possible and likely are two different things, but possible, yeah. If the Pistons want to move on from him, he's under a 1-year contract, like I've talked about in my videos. If they don't want to pay him, with guys like Daniel Gafford getting a new contract, with Turner soon here getting a new contract, maybe Walker Kessler gets a new contract, and they don't like what Jalen Duren's asking for, then maybe they trade him. I guess that would be another team to point to what they take in the draft. If they take a big man, then yeah, maybe they would trade Jalen Duren. Yeah, I think Shams is slipping here. If I'll take your guys' word for it, they took Trey Johnson. I'm gonna just pull up the draft. I'm not gonna get copyrighted here, but I'm gonna pull up the draft on my phone just to kind of verify what they're talking about. Yeah, you guys are right. They did take Trey Johnson. Shams is not tweeting up to date anymore. Yeah, nobody's really tweeting. They're all talking about it on their own TV platform. Unless TweetDeck is broken for me here. No, Shams is sleeping. He's not. They got him busy talking on ESPN. But okay, Trey Johnson at number 6. I'm gonna pull up another draft board. Live order. Pull up a live tracker, just so we can follow it too. Yep, you guys are right. Trey Johnson at number 6. I like the pick for them. let's pull up Trey Johnson's college stats to review, just for all of us that might not be familiar with him. He did go to Texas, is a one and done freshman. He led the entire SEC in scoring last year with 19.9 points per game. That I actually did not know or wasn't familiar with. Kind of a combo guard, more of a scoring mindset kind of player. You know, my NBA comparison for him, I've seen a few people saying Cam Johnson that I don't quite agree with. He's not quite that one-track scoring minded, but obviously he's a pretty good scoring threat, really good three-level scorer, very good three-point shooter. If anything, I think for a better three-point shooting comparison for him, somebody at that 6'5" height kind of range. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a perfect one, but yeah, is a very talented offensive player. The Wizards should get a good offensive threat here with Trey Johnson. Not a terrible defender either. Wouldn't call him in that really good defensive tier like a Cooper Flagg or a BJ Edgecombe, but not too terribly far below them. Didn't make an all defensive team in college, but definitely not a defensive liability either. Trey's a bucket. Yeah, I'd agree. Lakers traded in. No, they have not traded anything from what I have seen so far. Maybe they'll make a trade later in the draft. Maybe they trade for a second round draft pick. And if you're joining late, this is a 2-day NBA draft. We don't have the 1-day NBA draft format anymore. We got the first round tonight and the second round tomorrow night. So if you're waiting for the Lakers second round draft pick or for them to trade up in the second round, we do have to wait until tomorrow. But we got the first round tonight, got the draft lottery. So there could be plenty of other teams trading, or who knows, maybe the Lakers trade into the first round here too. Really doubt it, but never know. Okay, we got pick number 7 in, Jeremiah Fears, taken by the Pelicans. I think that's a good pick for them. They're probably happy he fell to them, if you want to say fell. If you don't remember, DeJounte Murray tore his Achilles, and they traded CJ McCollum, so they really don't have a point guard at the moment. Now they do with Jeremiah Fears. So I think that's a good fit for them. I know ESPN had mocked them taking Kaman Maluak. I don't agree with that, and obviously they didn't want to go that route either. They took Jeremiah Fears, point guard out of Oklahoma, one and done freshman, 19-year-old, coming off of 17 points per game, 4 rebounds and 4 assists per game, nearly 2 steals per game. Is a pretty good point of attack defender. The one knock on him though is the 3-point shooting. Only shot 28% in college, and that's obviously not too good. For a point guard in the NBA today, you want them at the bare minimum at 35%, unless you're TJ McConnell out there destroying the mid-range and getting to the bucket. You want a pretty good 3-point shooting point guard, and he's not quite there yet. But obviously, very good scoring talent, good playmaker. You know, turnovers were a little bit of an issue for him. I can't say I watched an incredible amount of Jeremiah Fears, but from what I've seen and people talking about him, mainly the 3-point shooting and turnovers are the main issue with him. All right. The Nets are on the clock here, though. The best available per ESPN is Kaman Maluak. And like I said, if they take him, then we can kind of write in Nick Claxton as a guarantee to be traded, whether it's within a month or two or at the trade deadline. I think they definitely move Nick Claxton if they take Kaman Maluak. And if I had to guess, I think they will take him too. Is Kaman Maluak worth trading for in the first round? Depending on the team you're talking about, I guess. If you're talking about the Lakers, I know some people have been talking about that. Some people have made trade ideas with it. I haven't really talked about it too much because I didn't think it would happen, and I really doubt it will happen. I guess they have 15 seconds left, or maybe a post-pick trade, but I don't find it very likely. I think he's a really talented big. is a good lob threat, very good rim protector. Not the most switchable big in the draft. Isn't a 3-point shooting option, but obviously a lot of people like his height, rebounding, shot blocking, defense in general. But I don't know if I'd trade a lot to get up to him. Okay, the pick is in. Are they going to take Cayman Maliwak? You guys let me know too if you get ahead of me on anything you're following. Put it in the chat. I'll try to catch up with it too. But yeah, the pick is in. I think they're probably going to take Cayman Maliwak. I definitely watch for a Brooklyn Nets trade today though too. They got 5 future first round or 5 draft picks alone in the first round, so I'd genuinely be shocked if they don't make some kind of trade, either packaging a couple of them to trade up or packaging a couple of them to trade down and then for an additional player with them. I'd be shocked if the Nets aren't making more trades today. Who's more of a lockdown defender, Jared Vanderbilt or Dorian Finney-Smith? Jared Vanderbilt's the much better on-ball defender, while Finney-Smith is the much better off-ball defender. They really do different things well on defense. Vanderbilt, when healthy, of course, is more of the defensive pest, the more on-ball guy, the passing lane guy, while Finney-Smith is a very good help defender, good team defender, good help side rim protector even. They do different things well on defense, but I guess lockdown defender, if you're talking about that, Vanderbilt would be the better fit for what you're talking about. You pray to God Lakers make a trade on draft night. Which draft night, though? You talking about tonight in the first round, or are you talking about tomorrow night in the second round? Got to keep that two-day format in mind here. I keep forgetting about it too. Okay, the Brooklyn Nets pick is in. They are taking... Okay, they're taking... Oh, wow. They bypassed Cayman Maliwak. They took the European guard, Igor Demin, if I pronounce his name correctly. I'll be truthful. I have not watched a minute of his film. He's not been a Laker draft target or anything, so I know really nothing about him other than his basic skill set. I know he's a tall point guard, kind of combo guard. But, yeah. Oh, he did play in college. I guess I didn't even really follow that. I know BYU has the top prospect for next year, but I did not follow BYU at all. But Igor Demin is the Brooklyn Nets pick at number 8 overall here. And he's coming off of averaging roughly 11 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, 5.5 assists per game to 2.9 turnovers per game. I know he wasn't a good 3-point shooter, and that is confirmed here. Only shot 27.3% in college, and obviously not very good. Does have potential. Will he improve on that? Maybe. Obviously, the Nets think that he will, so it'll be interesting to see how that pans out for them. That's much more of a long-term project pick for them. Higher potential. Definitely higher potential than Cayman Maliwak, in my opinion. But that kind of signals that maybe they don't trade Nick Claxton right away, unfortunately. Maybe they do. Who knows? We've heard about him being on the trade block for roughly a year now, but they didn't take the center, didn't take Maliwak, didn't take... there's another center that's projected in the late lottery here. Either a Thomas Sorber or a Carter Bryant. So they went with the guard. Do I think Dillingham's getting traded? Like Rob Dillingham? Maybe. I don't know. Is there a draft prospect named Dillingham that I'm not aware of? But maybe. I don't know. Okay, we have a tweet here from Jake Fisher quoting the BYU head coach talking about Igor Demin, saying that outside of Dylan Harper and Cooper Flagg, he has the most upside in the entire draft. So I've heard people say similar things about him. The skill set with him, the 6'9" point guard ability. I think he's a decent defender. Again, I can't say I watch very much of him, but obviously has great size at point guard, has point guard level passing ability, playmaking vision, ability to read the floor at that height. So a lot of potential there with Igor Demin. So yeah, now we're on to the Toronto Raptors. Are they going to take Cayman Maliwak? That could be interesting, I guess. Who do they even have at center right now? They got Jakob Poeltl. Okay, so if they would take Cayman Maliwak, that might signal that Jakob Poeltl's on the trade block. A guy we haven't talked very much about, but could be another trade target at center for a team like the Lakers, maybe. Isn't the lob threat that maybe a Nick Claxton or a different vertical threat might be, but is a pretty good rim protector, good defender. So that might be something to look for here. Toronto definitely taking a center. Yeah, they might take Cayman Maliwak here. They've not made their pick quite yet. They could go Cayman Maliwak. They could maybe go Derek Queen. I've seen that mocked to them before. Maybe they go the guard route and trade one of RJ Barrett or Emmanuel Quickley. They could do that potentially. How much more time until the Lakers get a pick tonight? They don't have a pick tonight. Today, or the draft this year, is a 2-day NBA format, like I keep saying. If they keep their 55th overall draft pick, that will be tomorrow night, probably at I'd say roughly 9 p.m. Eastern time. It'll take probably that long to get to that point. So unless they make a trade for a first round draft pick tonight, they're not going to be taking a draft pick. Correct. The Nets have 5 first round draft picks tonight alone. Yes, they have 5 of them. They take at 8th overall, and then I think they have number 13, if I remember correctly. Let me pull it up here to be accurate. Okay, yeah, the Brooklyn Nets, they have number 8, 19, 26, 27. That's what they all have tonight. 4 of them. They have a 5th one, though, too. A 5th one that's not popping up here on the Fanspo trade machine. But they do have 5 first round draft picks. I know that for sure. Let's pull up Nets draft picks. First round. What do they all have tonight? Okay, they have 8th, 19th, 22nd, 26th, and 27th tonight. Like I said, if they don't make a draft day trade, I would be genuinely shocked. I don't know how they fit 5 draft picks on their team with, I think they already have how many people? They got 10 people on the roster. Technically, they could do it. They could take all 5 first round draft picks and sign all of them and still have an eligible roster for next season, but I kind of doubt it. I feel like they'll trade at least 1 or 2 of them, but I guess we'll find out. The pick is in for Toronto. We don't have a name quite yet. Shams decided to not update his draft anymore, so we're just going to be following on the ESPN draft tracker. What do I think about trading for Klingon or Edey? Probably not very likely. Lakers need to trade up. Yeah, I think we'll be looking at that more tomorrow night rather than tonight for a second round draft pick. Probably not a first round draft pick. But yeah, watch it be Derek Queen. You know, I kind of feel like that too. I wouldn't be shocked. I feel like Cayman Maliwak might end up falling a bit due to him being a bit limited doesn't really have much of an offensive skill set compared to a Derek Queen, for example, is more talented offensively, more than simply a lob threat. So, well, we're about to find out who they take, though. Toronto is taking... Okay, wow. They did not take a big at all. They took Colin Murray Boyles, small forward of South Carolina. Interesting. A little bit of a reach. He, per ESPN, had a 13th overall ranking. I've seen him more being a late lottery pick compared to a mid lottery pick like he just got taken here. But hey, interesting pick. They didn't go the big route, and Colin Maluak continues to fall down. Pull up Colin Murray's stats here. Was a 2-year college player out of South Carolina. Averaged 17 points per game during his sophomore year. 8 rebounds per game, and that's pretty impressive for a big forward like himself. Over 1 steal per game, over 1 block per game. I know he is known for his defensive ability and upside, so that does track. Led the entire SEC in field goal percentage at nearly 59%. Very impressive. Isn't much of a three-point shooter. That's a knock on him. Only shot 26.5% last year. Free throw shooting, not great for a wing. Not terrible, 71%. But, pretty shocking that we've now had 3 top 10 picks that are sub 30% three-point shooters. Interesting. Our team's kind of trending more in the defense direction and not caring entirely about three-point shooting. That might kind of be showing right now. Obviously, everyone thinks that Colin Murray Boyles or Jeremiah Fears and other guys who've been taken will develop a three-point shot. But up until this point, they're not the best three-point shooters. So, interesting. Because the Nets have 5 first-round draft picks, does that increase our chances of trading for Claxton and maybe Cam Johnson? Depending on who they pick here, yeah. We talked about it before. They did not take Kaman Maluak. So will they take a center later on? Maybe. And if they do, then yes, I think it's more likely that they do trade Nick Claxton. But if they don't take a center and they trade their draft picks and don't get a center back from the draft picks, then maybe they hold on to Nick Claxton for another year. Apparently multiple top 10 teams tried trading their pick for Jaylen Brown and or Derek White. Yeah, I've heard a little bit about that too. Everyone's trying to call Boston and see how much more they're trading. Already traded Porzingis and Holiday, so are they going to do the complete fire sale? Are they going to trade Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, maybe tank the entire year while Jaylen Brown's or Jason Tatum's hurt? Interesting, but up until this point have not traded Jaylen Brown or Derek White. But okay, we got the Rockets on the clock here at number 10 overall, but they are taking for the Phoenix Suns because they owe that draft pick to them. And for Phoenix, kind of what they need probably would be a big. Maybe Kaman Maluak finally goes. Maybe Derek Queen might be taken. But keep in mind here, the Rockets, they are taking for Phoenix. They traded this draft pick as part of the Kevin Durant trade. What's up to everyone coming in, joining the live stream? Appreciate you joining in if you're just getting in here. Following the NBA draft, we've had a few surprising picks. Ace Bailey getting taken at number 5. That shocked a few people. No draft day trades yet. The Nets did not trade their draft pick like many thought, but could be draft day trades coming up, so stay tuned. Okay. why isn't Jerry Henning from Georgia or Chris Hendricks from Indiana not on any first round mock drafts? I I guess I wouldn't be the perfect person to ask that. I'm not too familiar with them, but I guess if you're a Big Ten fan, maybe you're more favorable to them. But I guess they're, from what I've seen, not on any first round mock drafts either. Maybe late second round pick for Chris Hendricks, but yeah, from what I've seen, not really. Jason Andrews reporting that the Kings are testing waters for trading Sabonis. Yeah, I heard about that too. I definitely wouldn't have interest in him if you're talking about the Lakers trading for him, but different team trading for him, center needy team that doesn't want a lob threat, maybe, but excuse me, I'm not a big fan of that Domantas Sabonis contract. Let's pull it up here even. Let's pull up the contract. Yeah, not too shocking to see why they'd want to trade him. You know, Sabonis is a all-star, borderline all-star kind of player, but making $42 million next season, 45 after that, and 48 in 2028. Yeah, I'm not sure I want that to be my second or highest payroll on my team. I don't think you can build a contending team around him, not a true contending team. Oh wow, we have a not to go off topic here, but the Hornets are trading Mark Williams to the Phoenix Suns for the 29th overall draft pick tonight. Yeah, my tweet deck is not updating, but I know Shams just tweeted that. Okay, yeah. Breaking. The Hornets are trading Mark Williams to the Phoenix Suns for the number 29 pick and a 2029 first round draft pick. Okay, that's kind of comparable to what the Lakers tried to trade for with him. Them offering Dalton Connect and a future first round draft pick. Kind of comparable, I guess. That's a worse return package than they got from the Lakers. So the report I talked about last week, I think, about them trying to get a Lakers level trade package for Mark Williams again, that does track here. I guess the further question will be, can Mark Williams actually pass the physical examination? Or will the Suns kind of turn a blind eye to it and not care as much as the Lakers did? Or are they worried about his health history and him holding up? I guess we'll find out, but that's interesting. Mark Williams off the board here. The Suns did not trade their 10th overall pick, though. They took Kaman Maliwak, too. Like I said, the Rockets made the pick, but this is owed to the Phoenix Suns. And so they traded for Mark Williams, and they have Kaman Maliwak. Interesting. I think that kind of means to me that they're not going to enter a rebuild, that they're going to try to make it work with Devin Booker, maybe one or both of Bradley Beal and Jalen Green, because remember, they did get Jalen Green as part of that Kevin Durant trade package. Then they got Mark Williams and Kaman Maliwak behind them, so should be interesting, I guess. Yeah, Maliwak, he still did go 10. Maliwak went 10. That is to Phoenix, not the Rockets. So the Rockets, or the Suns anyway, they're loading up on centers. They got Mark Williams and Kaman Maliwak for their front court. Yeah, Jake Fisher ended up being correct here, saying that Kaman Maliwak has to be a dream target for the Suns at number 10, and they are taking him. Okay, another update with the Mark Williams trade here. The 2029 first round draft pick that Charlotte got with him is the least favorable of Cleveland, Utah, and Minnesota. So if we're comparing that again to the Lakers trade package for Mark Williams, they traded Dalton Connect, let's actually pull it up here so I get it right. Lakers trade for Mark. Yeah, okay. They traded Dalton Connect, Cam Reddish, 2031 first round draft pick, and a 2030 pick swap. Comparing that to a 29th overall draft pick and a late 2029 first round draft pick, they definitely had a worse return package now compared to what they got back then. So looking back on it, I can see why they tried to get the trade to go through, why they're trying to trade Mark Williams. So yeah, that's quite the indictment on them that they've been trying to trade Mark Williams for a while and they didn't get quite the best trade package for him compared to what they previously got. Oh yeah, okay. Nick Richards, he could be a target. He now kind of slots in at their third center and is under contract. So I definitely wouldn't trade for him to be my starting big man, but if you're talking about a backup big, I'd be a fan of it. Is a good rebounder. Is a good lob threat too. We could make a trade with something like Nick Richards for... Honestly, the Lakers are below the first apron right now, so they could technically trade Shake Milton for him and then maybe trade their 55th overall draft pick. And it doesn't show up on the trade machine, but officially tonight, they did gain a 2032 second round draft pick. So maybe we could offer that and get Nick Richards. Maybe if we can't find a better option, but yeah, that could be an option for their team. Lakers trade tax. Yeah, got to factor that into. Phoenix will probably ask for a first round draft pick for him. Yeah, you could definitely bring up Nick Richards. What are we doing talking about Nick Richards? Hey man, we're down bad right now. We're not talking about we're not talking about Bam Adebayo anymore. We're talking about Nick Richards. We're down horrendous. What are we doing? Yeah, Nick Richards could be in the... Again, I wouldn't target him for a starting big, but backup big, I'd be fine with it. Is Nick Richards a good rim protector? Wouldn't call him a good rim protector, kind of average in that regard. The best thing about him is rebounding, undeniably. Good rebounder, good at taking up space in the middle, pretty good lob threat, is an athletic big man. So he'd be an upgrade compared to Jackson Hayes, in my opinion. Better rebounder, kind of similar lob threat. Rim protection, kind of on par with him. We have another trade to get to in a minute, but overall, Nick Richards, not going to go too far on it, but I think he'd be a decent target for their team, again, as a backup. But we have another trade here. Portland has traded their number 11th overall draft pick to Memphis, and essentially they took Cedric Howard for Memphis at number 11. Okay, interesting. A backcourt player for Memphis here. Kind of a shooting guard, combo guard, if I remember correctly. Bigger shooting guard, actually. Kind of a forward. Oh no, I'm thinking of a different player. Coward is the guy with the insane wingspan, if I remember correctly now. Cedric Coward wingspan. Yeah, +8 wingspan. 7'2" wingspan, only measuring at a little over 6'5". Okay, yeah, he's the guy I'm thinking of now correctly. Coward is the really good 3-and-D option. He went a lot higher than I thought he would. I thought he'd fall to about 15, 17 range, but yeah, okay. Memphis got a really good defender at number 11 here with Cedric Coward. Also a good three-point shooter. Shot 40% at Washington State last year. I think he played a little bit of JUCO, if I remember correctly. I think he played 5 years in college, only 3 at the D1 level. I could be wrong there about that, but I think he's an older college player. Okay, maybe I'm tripping. Only 21. Maybe he only played... I think he only played 1 year JUCO then. I think he played 1 year JUCO, then went to Eastern Washington, and then transferred to Washington State last year. But that's a pretty good pick for them. That kind of hints to me that they're adding more NBA-ready talent around John Morant and Jaren Jackson rather than probably trading them, unfortunately. But Cedric Coward, that's a pretty NBA ready pick for them. Good scoring option, even average roughly 18 points per game. At a lesser conference, keep that in mind, but nearly 2 blocks per game as a 6'5" forward. That's pretty impressive. 7'2" wingspan again. Great rebounder. Good 3-point shooter. I like the pick for them. Honestly, don't think anyone will complain if we overpay for Kessler at this point. That depends on what you mean by overpaying. Because I might complain if we overpay for him. I think I'd be in that category. If you give up every tradable draft pick they have, 2031, 3 future first round draft picks, and removing that pick protection in 2027, I'd complain about that. I don't know about you, but I would. Mark Williams played the last 27 games this season. I don't think he played that many. I think he played 22 if I remember correctly. They had 34 left after the Laker Hornet trade went down, and I think he played 22. I remember I talked about that in a video. And he barely played over 60% of the remaining games, so I'm not too keen about his health going forward. Jalen Smith, yeah, I've talked about him. Good rim protector, not great. He's kind of a jack of all trades, master of none kind of big. Decent 3-point shooter, good rebounder, good but not great rim protector. Simply a good backup big. I think we have another trade here, or maybe more details about the Cedric Coward trade. Yep. Okay, per Shams, the Grizzlies are sending number 16, a 2028 first round draft pick via the Orlando Magic, and 2 second round draft picks, all for Cedric Coward. So they definitely wanted him for sure. And I mean, kind of with the Memphis Grizzlies draft track record, I think they've done pretty well. Drafting Morant, Bane, Jaren Jackson, even I like Vince Williams, who they got in the late second round a couple of years ago. They have a pretty good scouting unit, so I like the pick for them. Okay. You're annoyed the Lakers haven't done anything yet. There will be a point where the centers go off the board. Yes, I would also say that with the trades going on too, that if certain players get traded to a certain team, a different center option will become available. Like we've talked about with Nick Richards now being the third center on the Phoenix Suns here behind both Cayman Maluak and Mark Williams. So even if a center gets traded, it might indirectly open up a different center. So kind of got to keep an open mind here. It might not be the center you're thinking of, might not be the Walker Kessler or Nick Claxton or Miles Turner, whatever commonly named center you're thinking of, but it might be a different center that becomes available after a trade, or somebody that we haven't heard of that Rob Pelinka is trying to get. Lately, they've been working in the shadows, so kind of hard to predict what they might be trying to do. First time watching the stream, appreciate it, my guy. Welcome. We do them every now and again, but appreciate you tuning in. Danny Ainge is high as for sure. He's on something. I don't know if it's that or simply being high on every player on his team and trying to get more than they're worth, but I can't knock him for it. But as a team or a fan of a team that's trying to trade with him, it definitely is pretty annoying. I'm even shocked that he was the guy that took Russell Westbrook off their hands. I think we often forget about that, but he was the guy that took Westbrook back in 2022 or 2023, and he was part of giving them Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley, who they should have kept, by the way, and D'Angelo Russell, who they made a conference finals run with. So not all bad about Danny Ainge, but I don't have a whole lot good to say about him either. You're tired of scraps, you want potatoes. That's a good way of putting it. Don't want Nick Richards. Not saying that drastic of an overpay for Kessler. Yeah, I might have been a little dramatic there, but I'm not going to give up every trade asset for him. I'm probably falling behind on the draft here. Do we have a... Nope, we're at pick number 12 yet. Cedric Howard was that last pick. Him being traded to Memphis from Portland. Portland got the 19th overall draft pick here. Or they got the 16th overall draft pick, my bad. And a 2028 first round draft pick. That's a big trade package for an 11th overall draft pick. Memphis really did like Cedric Howard. Danny Ainge is kind of like Pat Riley, delusional in old age. Yeah, Pat Riley kind of went from being the godfather to now kind of not so much of a godsend for the Miami Heat. I think they're kind of hoping for him to retire. But yeah, it all eventually happens down the line. Pelinka doing work in the shadows of Disneyland. That's funny. Yeah, I think there was that picture of him at Disneyland, if you're referring to that. Oh wow, do we have another trade coming in? The Atlanta Hawks are trading the number 13th overall draft pick to the New Orleans Pelicans for the number 23 overall pick and an unprotected 2026 first round draft pick. Wow, okay. I wonder who they're targeting with it. We've had 2 lottery draft day trades here now. One from Memphis and another one to Atlanta. Or going to New Orleans from Atlanta. Interesting. I don't know if I'm the Pelicans, if I'd want to keep trading with Atlanta after they fleece them in the DeJounte Murray trade, but hey, more power to them. I thought for a second there when I seen that trade pull up, I thought I read Dyson Daniels. I'm like, no way they're trading Dyson Daniels back to New Orleans, but I'm tripping. Okay, interesting though. Who do they want so badly at number 13? We don't even have number 12 in yet. The pick is in for Chicago, but we don't know who it is yet. Okay, read a few more comments here. Mark trades saved the Lakers from that. Yeah, I agree. I think they gave up too much initially for him, and I think the trade package they got for Mark Williams this time around shows that too. Okay, the Bulls made their pick. They drafted a guy that I'm gonna absolutely butcher his name, but they drafted Noah Esengo. Iseng? I don't know. I can't say I've watched too much of him. I know he's been mocked as a lottery pick. Is a skilled kind of forward, if I remember correctly, but I'm not going to try to pronounce his name again. 18-year-old out of France. Man, France has a lot of international talent at this point. I will say that. But Noah here averaged 12 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, 1 assist per game, over 1 steal per game in the Euro Cup League last year, playing for the Radio Farm Ulm. Not familiar with EuroLeague. If you know more about this guy, comment about him and give me a good evaluation. I have seen little to nothing about him, so let me know how you feel about this draft pick for the Bulls. They've had some pretty good luck taking international prospects lately. They took Matas Buzelis last year. That's turned out to be a pretty good pick for them so far. They've liked their international talent, so who knows? Maybe this will be a good pick. ESPN had him ranked 9th overall, and he fell to number 12, so pretty good value pick for them. Did the Lakers trade up? Nope, not that I'm aware of. Mark Walter, please fire up, Pelinka. Uh, okay, give the man a little bit more time yet. If he doesn't do anything this summer, then maybe you can push that narrative. But after the Luka Doncic trade, after the Dorian Finney-Smith trade, I think he's earned a little bit of leeway. Not a year's, maybe not 2 years worth, but give him a little bit of time left. First stream. Okay, appreciate you tuning in. Also, what do you think is the best center we can realistically get with our options? There's a lot that are realistic. It's dependent on what you really think they need or who your favorite pick is. Realistically, you could get a guy like Nick Claxton. A lot of people like that. I'm a fan of it for a realistic option. If you want to call Walker Kessler realistic, you can maybe point to that, but maybe not as much. If you're talking about free agency, I'd love to get a guy like Luke Cornett. A lot of people like Clint Capella. I'd put Luke Cornett slightly above him, but yeah, kind of slim pickings, but there are a few decent options here and there. Kind of tough if you're using the word realistic, though. Queen to the Pels. I've not seen that. The pick is in for number 13, though. We'll find out shortly who Atlanta is. Oh, wait, no. Atlanta traded this to the New Orleans Pelicans, if you just tuned in. Okay, no, actually, you're right. New Orleans is taking Derek Queen at number 13. That's who they traded up for. They traded from number 23 down to pick number 13, and they're taking Derek Queen. So now they do have I'm not going to say a logjam at front court, but they do have Yves Missi and Derek Queen. Queen can play a little bit power forward, is a more skilled big man than simply a traditional big man, but they do have Yves Missi. They do have Derek Queen now. They did trade away Kelly Olynyk, so they don't have that problem, but I think they're more filling out their front court rather than looking to trade somebody, but will be interesting. I know some Laker fans were talking about Yves Missi at one time. I talked about him last summer during the NBA draft, but I don't think he'll be a realistic trade target even after them taking Derek Queen. Okay, a few more comments. A lot of people must forget that the only bad thing Rob did last offseason was Dalton and Bronny. I don't even know if I'd say Dalton was a bad thing. I think he's got the only... Oh, okay, no, you didn't say a bad thing. The only thing that he did was Dalton and Bronny. I mean, yeah, I guess. I think Dalton was a good pick for them. Bronny was kind of a pick they had to make with LeBron and kind of pleasing him, but maybe it'll work out for them. He could maybe turn into a Davion Mitchell kind of player, but Rob tends to work more in the season rather than the off season. Teams, for whatever reason, don't really give them good trades during the summer. They give them that Laker tax, but as they get more toward the trade deadline, teams tend to lower their price, and that's where Rob Pelinka has had a lot more luck. Trading back in 23 again for the D'Angelo Russell, Vanderbilt and Beasley trade, getting rid of Westbrook, trading for Dorian Finney-Smith, trading for Luka Doncic, obviously. That's kind of where Rob has done more trades rather than during the summer. A lot of Rob Pelinka hate. I think I'm going to stop saying the name Rob Pelinka. When are we getting Giannis for Bronny? Maybe if you're talking about Giannis's kids, maybe we could trade Bronny for a 2040 second round draft pick. Let's say it wasn't Dalton. Okay, I think you're just talking about Dalton not playing in the postseason. Yeah, that's a definite topic of debate. Hopefully he gets more playing time next season, but probably should have played a little bit in the postseason. I'd agree with that. getting Kessler becoming unrealistic. I think it's definitely treading that line between is it realistic or unrealistic. You know, you can make an argument either way. Given that it's been a year that they've been trying to trade for him, I think it's a bit more unrealistic rather than realistic, but there technically is a pathway to it if they want to give up that much for him. Is Dylan Harper related to Ron Harper? Yes. Ron Harper is his dad, if I remember correctly. Rob, wake up. Yeah, Rob's he's kind of buying his time right now. If they get a center, maybe it becomes more realistic. Yeah, it definitely could. Can we get Nikola Jokic? Maybe maybe in 10 years when he's 40. Man. You keep watching me you feel like a regular video. That's not a bad thing, I guess. Phone call. Suns got Mark Williams for the 29th pick. Yep, they did. We talked about that one before. I think they got a worse trade package for Mark Williams than what the Lakers traded for him. I think that kind of shows that they overpaid for him and kind of out of desperation at that point. Last second at the trade deadline, trying to get a center, trying to get a good fit and a long-term fit with Luka Doncic, but didn't really factor in how limited their trade assets were at that point. And I think they're kind of safe from it, not going through with it, and this trade kind of showing it too. That it would have been overpay for Mark Williams, and that they gave up a bit too much for him. Am I in on Rui for Andrew Wiggins? Potentially for the right price. I talked about this in a video earlier today if you want to check that out. I talked about what the updated price for Andrew Wiggins might be per a report from a Miami Heat beat writer. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. The price actually might be lower than we think. Maybe it's Rui Hachimura, maybe it's not. They simply want expiring contracts, so go check out that video. We win a championship and change the whole roster, get bounced first round multiple times, stand put. That's very true. If you point to that, they won a championship and they didn't run it back. I will say partially they couldn't due to payroll problems and trying to work around the apron at that time. But you really didn't have to trade Danny Green. You didn't have to move on from a few guys in their team. I'd agree with that. And then you get beat in the first round and you don't make a bunch of changes. Yeah, there's something to be said for that, for sure. Hopefully we can trade something to the Nets for some of their picks. Yeah, if there'd be any team that would trade today, it would be the Brooklyn Nets. They got 5 of them. They still got, what did I pull up before? Number 19, 22, 27, and 29, I think. Yeah, they got 19, 20, 22, 26, and 27 yet. So I'd be shocked if they don't make a trade. New ownership kicks in for next season. This season is, I wouldn't say this season they're going to do nothing. I don't agree with that. Even with Rob and Jeannie fully running the show for this season, they're going to try to make some changes. I mean, Rob showed it at the trade deadline. After trading for Luka Doncic, he tried to make the Mark Williams trade. Again, I'm glad they didn't make the trade and didn't send that trade package. But given how quickly he tried to make a trade and how willing he was to trade their remaining trade assets, I think that shows that he'll make another trade. I think he will do it, knock on wood, by the time training camp rolls around, but I think that showed that he's willing to make another trade. Must be nice to be a Spurs fan. I mean, yeah, with Victor Wembanyama, that's a lot of fun, but then again, it's been 11 years since they've won a championship, been over half a decade since they made it beyond the first round, so maybe not that great, but they have a pretty damn good future, I'll say that. The Nets, they do have enough picks to make a starting five. They do. First time you've been to a live. Appreciate you coming in, man. I've done quite a few of them, but first time here. Appreciate you tuning in, coming to hang out, talking NBA draft. It's been quite a few draft picks so far. I think I'm falling behind here on the draft itself. Yeah, I am. 14th pick was Carter Bryant for the Spurs. That's probably why the comment before was about the Spurs. I like Carter Bryant, by the way, too. 15 is not in, of course, by the reigning NBA champion Oklahoma City Thunder. The rich get richer. No idea who they'll take. I think they probably will take an international prospect. Maybe let them stay over in Europe so they don't have to move somebody off their current roster and payroll. Let them develop in Europe. I wouldn't be shocked by that, but Carter Bryant, again, we'll review him pretty quick. If I remember correctly, he's another guy with a very long wingspan. Yeah, pretty accurate. +5 wingspan here. Roughly 6'7", near 7-foot wingspan. Is a good defender. I think is a pretty good 3-point shooter. Yep. Wow. B-Ball Reference has him as a guard. I think of him more as a forward, but maybe has some guard ability. He's more of a long-term project, I guess. He's a good 3-point shooter already. I know that for sure. Does have some good 3-and-D outlook. Does fit in the Spurs timeline, obviously. So I like the pick for them. $55th overall draft pick. Yeah, if they would stand pat there, Amari Williams, that'd be a good pick for them in my opinion. First guy I made a video about. Other targets at 55, if they would stay there, I really don't think they stay at 55. I think they trade up and package that draft pick for the somewhere in the 40th overall draft pick range. They kind of like that range, whether it be 35 with Christie that one time or 47 that they've traded for multiple times. I think they do that and probably try to get a guy like Yannick Konen, maybe if Maxime Reynaud or Ryan Kalkbrenner fall, maybe they could do that. But pick 55, Amari Williams, maybe Rocco Zakarski, somebody like that. But we have a super chat from Tony Lau. Appreciate the super chat, my friend. Question is, hey JSM, I'm from Singapore. Thanks for the great content always. I watch every day. If you were the GM, give me your best offseason for the Lakers. Man, that'll be a loaded response if I go through every detail. I made 3 videos about that if you haven't seen them. I think I've titled them all Lakers Perfect Offseason with something following thereafter. But to give you a brief perfect offseason, I guess, per se, something like trading for a center, whether a center that would fit their needs that Luka Doncic wants, a lob threat, good rim protector, switchable defender, maybe a Nick Claxton, maybe a Walker Kessler for the right price, obviously. Then getting a 3-and-D wing, a guy that would improve the fit to their starting lineup. I think that's a bigger need than some people do. Kind of improving the fit and making their big three, quote unquote, of Luka, LeBron, and Austin work. Getting a guy like Andrew Wiggins, maybe a Herb Jones potentially. If you could pair one of them with one of Kessler, Daniel Gafford, Nick Claxton, somebody like that, that's a pretty ideal offseason in my opinion. So yeah, that kind of answers it from a basic level. Veteran minimum signings, I guess, if you want to go that route. I talk a little bit about that in the videos I mentioned. CP3, veteran minimum guys, Al Horford potentially, bigs like that. Luke Cornett would be a dream option for a vet minimum. Not very likely, but yeah, that's kind of my snippet ideal offseason. But appreciate the chat, my friend. Appreciate you watching. Thanks for tuning in. All right, going back to the draft here. Do we have an update? The Thunder have not taken their pick yet, but we're going to watch the rich get richer here eventually. Or maybe they'll trade their draft pick. I would not be shocked by that. We have an updated detail on the Mark Williams trade. Charlotte is acquiring back Vasai Micic, who they traded away as part of their Nick Richards trade. So Micic goes from Charlotte to Phoenix, back to Charlotte, and I've heard reports that he's going back to the EuroLeague, so he might be leaving entirely. They're trading for simply the contract here. Okay, wow. His $8.1 million team option will get put on the Suns' payroll. I'm wondering if they're going to simply eat that and maybe do the waive provision thing with him, the stretch provision, eat his contract over a 3-year duration, or that's interesting. Wonder what they'll do with that. Okay, going back to a few comments here. Spurs are crazy stacked. They could be for sure. They got a lot of young talent. Mark Williams got traded to Phoenix. Yep, he did. We talked about that. Welcome to the live if you're just tuning in. But Mark Williams did get traded. He was part of a double draft pick trade. The Suns traded their 10th overall pick, or if I remember, no, they didn't trade their 10th overall pick. Let me get the correct details. The Hornets traded Mark Williams for the 29th pick and a 2029 future first-round draft pick, which is the least favorable of Cleveland, Utah, and Minnesota. So, like I said before, Mark Williams got traded for a lesser trade package than the Lakers trade package, in my opinion. The Lakers offered a former lottery pick with Dalton Knecht, who I think on a bad team could be a 20 or near 20 point per game kind of guy, like pretty much immediately. Then they offered their 2031 first round draft pick. That was unprotected, if I remember correctly, and a first round draft pick swap. So comparing their trade package to what they now got from Mark Williams, quite a downgrade in my opinion. All right, we got another super chat from Eli Soto. Hopefully I pronounced your name right, but appreciate it, brother. Comment saying, love the videos. You're the only guy I listen to about the Lakers. It's always new, fresh information, not just lazy info. Appreciate that, my friend. I try my best to give quality information, whether I'm talking about a report or talking about a draft pick, player, free agent, whatever it is. Try to give good detailed info, make my own graphics, try to give that added input and a little bit more that maybe a different person won't do. Never going to knock anyone's content, but appreciate you enjoying the videos and coming to check them out. Appreciate it, my friend. Few more comments. Do I think Rob will stand pat? That depends on if you're talking about trades or with their current 55th overall draft pick. I guess the answer would be no to both. I don't think he'll do nothing for trades. I really hope not. If he doesn't, maybe you won't hear from me. For the draft, I think they'll trade up. My guess would be they package their 55th overall draft pick with cash. They have, much like every other team, have roughly $7 million to package of cash. So maybe they package that and try to move up to the 40s. Maybe they package their 55th overall draft pick with their newly gained 2032 second round draft pick. Maybe they package that and try to move up to the early second round. So they have options here. I'm not sure what they do, but they do have options. You think they'll stand pat? Could be. Who knows? A few more comments. Would I convert Trey Jemison to a vet minimum deal to be our third string center? I personally wouldn't. Not a knock on Trey Jemison. He's I guess the best thing about him would be he's a really good enforcer. Anytime there's any fight or brawl on the court, you would see Jemison running to it and coming to be the enforcer. But he's really limited, isn't a good free throw shooter, doesn't have a good touch around the rim, isn't really a vertical threat, and that's kind of my main thing with him. If he were a better lob threat, then I'd be more open to him being their third string center, spit it out. But yeah, just a bit limited overall. Isn't bad, but I like him on the two-way contract. I'd prefer a bit better, more proven option for their third center, and that's kind of hard to find given that they're not going to have guaranteed playing time. But it wouldn't be the worst idea, but not my favorite option either. I don't want to get too much into this comment because I tend to go on a tangent with it, but Rob getting Luka Doncic being a quote-unquote gift. See, I don't really agree with that. It's you can argue, yes, he partially got it handed to him, quote-unquote, but you don't get a Luka Doncic trade without having really good connections as a general manager, you can't keep it quiet like he did without being a decent in the shadows kind of trade guy like Rob Pelinka. So you got to give him a little bit of credit. Yes, he was approached with the Luka Doncic trade, but it's not entirely Nico Harrison just being a complete idiot and just giving him Luka Doncic. It's a little bit of both here. I imagine that Rob Pelinka probably did negotiate the trade package a bit too. I mean, only trading a 32-year-old Anthony Davis and one first-round draft pick for a generational player like Luka Doncic. You can argue that, I guess, but a top 5 player no matter what, and only 25 at the time. Yeah, I don't think it's completely handed to him. Not going to go too much on a tangent, though, with that one. At what pick do you think I can call it a night? First round, if you're talking about waiting for a Lakers trade, I'd say wait until the 20s, probably the early 20s. I think I'll be live probably until about pick number 23, 24. Maybe we'll go to the Kobe draft pick. But that's kind of what I'm waiting for too. If the Lakers make a early trade tonight, even if it's not for the first round, which I don't think it will be, if they make their second round draft pick trade tonight, so maybe they have an entire day to evaluate the second round, or will they maybe just wait till tomorrow and see how the draft plays out? I mean, I don't think that'd be a bad idea if they wait until tomorrow. Maybe a guy like Maxime Reynaud or Ryan Kalkbrenner fall. Maybe a different center option that's a projected first round draft pick falls to the second round. Then they trade for that player. I think they're simply buying their time right now, not being too anxious about it. Like we always say with Rob Pelinka, he's very patient to a painful level at times, but sometimes it works out, and I think that's kind of what he's trying to do right now. The center the Thunder drafted looks good. Who did they take here? Oh, Thomas Sorber. Okay, yeah, we talked about him earlier in the live stream. I think he measured in at the longest height to wingspan ratio in the entire draft. He has a 7'6" wingspan. That is a plus 9-inch differential. We're talking like Talen Horton-Tucker level of wingspan here. Pretty insane. I'm a big Thomas Sorber fan. Coming out of Georgetown, had a really good freshman year. Is everything from a good rim protector, very good rebounder, even a fairly switchable defender. Isn't really a three-point shooter, but only being 19 definitely has the potential to get to that point, in my opinion. Is a good scoring option, is a good low-post scoring threat, has a decent little floater push shot, so I like the pick for them. The rich keep on getting richer with the Thunder. They now have a third center. Maybe they trade Jalen Williams. No, not J-Dub, but their backup center, Jalen Williams, out of Arkansas. Maybe they trade him now. I don't know. Imagine Max Christie in the Luka trade. Like, no one remembers him as being part of the trade. Yeah, I feel like we often overlook it because we're talking about Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis, but I definitely miss Christie too. Hopefully one day he'll come back. Okay. You'd rather convert Koloko compared to, I imagine you're talking about Trey Jemison. Um, yeah, I think I'd honestly probably go that route too. Simply from Koloko being the better fit with Luka Doncic, being the better lob threat, being the more better athlete, better rim runner to pair with him. So simply from that and having untapped potential yet, gotta remember that he's only played in roughly 80 NBA games total, I think, up until this point. So, oops. Christian Koloko. Yeah, I definitely would go with Koloko, but as of right now, Trey Jemison's under a two-way contract, and Koloko's not even under a two-way contract, so he's not even on the team right now. I think they'll probably give him a summer league invite, kind of reevaluate him, maybe invite him back to training camp in preseason, and then go from there. But yeah, as of right now, Koloko is not on the team. Hayes or Koloko as a backup. At that point, I would go Hayes. Hayes, gets a lot of hate, but didn't do too bad as the Lakers backup. Wasn't ready for the bright lights in the playoffs, but he did okay during the regular season. You want to trade up for Walter Clayton Jr.? Wouldn't be a terrible option, I guess. He kind of projects as a late first one draft pick. If Walter Clayton were a little bit taller, I'd be a bigger fan of it. Oh, wow. Okay, wow. The Grizzlies took Hansen Yang at 16th overall. That is a dramatic reach. I mean, he's talented, but I've kind of compared him to a guy like Zach Edey, who they took last year. I don't know why you kind of double up on that traditional, not very athletic big man, but apparently that's what they want. They want that big physical big to pair with John Morant. They kind of want that enforcer, I guess. I think they could have waited to probably pick number 35 to get him, but okay, I guess they really wanted him. That's shocking. How do you guys feel about that one? Hansen Yang at pick number 16 to Memphis. Or they may have traded that pick, actually. Yeah, okay, that's right. Memphis, they did trade their 16th overall pick to Portland, and Portland, via that draft pick, picked Hansen Yang. So that's really interesting. Are they now signaling that they're going to trade DeAndre Ayton? They already have Donovan Clingan, so now they got three centers and a new center that they reach pretty heavily at. So maybe they will be trading DeAndre Ayton. How tall am I? Maybe I can be the Lakers starting center. Yeah, I'm about 10 inches short of being 7 foot, so I don't think I do that role too well. That's funny though. Did we even get to see Koloko with Luka? A little bit here and there, not very much though. I think Trey Jemison and Luka played about 50 minutes, and Koloko and Luka played roughly 20 together, so not very much. Yeah, Hansen Yang in the first round though. That's by far the biggest reach of this draft and probably any draft I can remember in the past 5 years now. That's a reach. Again, I like Hansen Yang, but wow. He was projected at pick number 45 and 50 for a bit. So to go from that all the way up to 16, that's pretty insane. Wow. They must see something in him that I don't. I don't not like him, but wow. That's all I can say about that pick. Wow. I don't know. I think the NBA is going a little bit back in the direction of being willing to take centers in the first round again. We've already had, I think 4 of them now. We've had Hansen Yang, we've had Thomas Sorber, we've had Cayman Maliwak, and I guess the other one wouldn't be a true center. So we've had 3 true centers in the first 16th overall picks. So that's a dramatic improvement compared to roughly 2018 to 2023, where nobody would take a center in the lottery anymore. So kind of trending back in the direction of centers being okay for lottery picks again, even if they're not 3-point shooters. So interesting. But yeah, talking about Hansen Yang, he very skilled but very limited athletically in my opinion. Not very mobile laterally. His we can even pull up the draft combine results in him. That was kind of my main problem with him. NBA draft combine agility. If I remember correctly, he had the worst lane agility time for any center, if not one of the worst. So lane agility time. Okay, yeah, we're at the bottom here. Okay, not the worst. Lane agility time, which is basically side-to-side movement. Derek Queen was worse, who he actually got taken. So there are 4 centers that got taken so far. Derek Queen, Maliwak, Hansen Yang, and Cayman Maliwak. All of them were in the bottom 5 among centers in lane agility time. Hansen Yang being the 5th worst in lane agility time. Shuttle run time, I think he actually did okay at. That's basically just straight sprint speed. I guess a little bit of side-to-side movement too, but definitely not as athletic compared to a Yannick Konen. Yannick Konen here, for example, shuttle run overall at the draft combine ranked like 10th overall. But Hansen Yang, definitely not a great athlete. I'm worried about him side-to-side movement-wise. I don't think he'll be a very good switchable defender. Is a decent rim protector, I guess, but man, again, that's a dramatic reach in my opinion. Especially coming over from, not to hate on the CBA China, their league, but they're not anywhere close to the competition of the NBA. Arguably not even at the D1 level college competition. So taking Hansen Yang based on what he's shown over there and then a little bit at the draft combine, I don't feel too great about that if I'm Portland. So good luck to them, I guess. Okay, good point. They do have Robert Williams too. So they actually have 4 centers on their team right now. I think that's a confirmation that Robert Williams for sure will be traded. Maybe DeAndre Ayton, but they got Donovan Clingan too. So I think for sure Robert Williams out. I'm not looking to trade for him unless it's for literally nothing. The guy plays, I think, 32 games per year, and I'm not joking about that. So that's quite the risk if you're even going to get him for half an NBA season. Then even more importantly, will he be healthy for the playoffs? Probably not. So trading for Robert Williams, even though he's a great theoretical fit, I'm just not too keen on it. And then, like we talked about, DeAndre Ayton, also a pretty decent theoretical fit, but with the character issues, with the locker room issues that he's had, Phoenix literally trading him for Yusuf Nurkic a couple years ago, just, you can't put a stat toward off the court issues, and that's what I'm worried about with DeAndre Ayton. Yeah, that's a good Hansen Yang comparison. Comment here about seeing Hansen Yang with Ivica Zubac. I've seen that comparison with him. In my opinion, though, Hansen Yang isn't the athlete that Zubac is. Neither of them are elite athletes at center, but Hansen Yang isn't quite vertically gifted as Zubac, isn't as quick as Zubac, in my opinion. He might be as big as him, and he could grow into that, and is a good passer for a big, but again, for a 16th overall draft pick, I think that's pretty wild. Okay, wow. Okay, catching back up on the draft here though, we got Joe. I'm not familiar with his pronunciation either. Is it Johan Beringer? Is it Joan Beringer from France? The T Wolves picked him. He is a power forward center hybrid. I do know that. I don't think he played in any college, just international. But the Timberwolves took him 17th overall, coming from the Euro Cup and ABA League over in Europe, playing 47 games here in total, showing some good rim protection. If I remember correctly, he's a pretty good athlete, so does kind of feel that off the bench rim runner, rim protection role for their team. Maybe that signals that they might trade Rudy Gobert eventually, might trade or eventually lose Naz Reid. Maybe they're preparing for that. I don't know. But yeah. On to pick 18 for Washington. They've not made a pick yet. ESPN has Liam McNeely as the best fit for them out of UConn. Kasparis Giacounis, I can't pronounce his name either, but best available per ESPN rankings, 10th overall ranking. Could be an interesting pick. How are you guys feeling about the draft? How are you feeling about the Hansen Yang reach? Who do you think is the best available yet? How are you guys feeling about the draft? Comments here. You'll die if we get Rob Williams. I don't know if I'd die, but if they give up anything more than simply Maxi Kleba and Shake Milton, like literally just that and no draft picks, then I wouldn't be too happy about it. Love the fit, but the guy just can't stay healthy. What's good, JSM? I know it's only the draft, but I'm getting sick of Rob. Yeah, we had a little bit of Rob Plinka hate watching here earlier, so I'm not going to circle back on it. But yeah, I know we're all waiting for him. You think Hansen moves better and passes better than Zubats? I think he passes better for sure than Zubats. I'd agree with that. Movement, I don't think you can really say that just coming over from what you've seen in the CBA with him. I watched a little bit of film on him, and he looks better there compared to the athletes around him. I think we often forget that if you put a guy in an NBA court, they tend to look a whole lot less athletic compared to college or a international league. So I'm going to wait for that to, I guess, really compare Hansen Yang's athletic ability to a different big. But from what I've seen so far, isn't a great athlete for a center, isn't on the level of other centers in the draft, in my opinion. Some of them anyways. So that's a little bit of an issue for me. Oh man. Yeah, that one really caught me off guard. Okay, Washington is trading Walter Clayton Jr. at number 18 to Utah. Wow, okay. I mean, I said before that Walter Clayton might be a late first round pick, but I'm proven wrong. He's a mid first round pick from Washington to Utah. We'll find out what Washington's getting in that trade package. So up until this point, Utah has taken Ace Bailey at 5th overall and now Walter Clayton. So they're working more on their backcourt, not their front court. So hate to kind of break it to the Walker Kessler fans and all in on Walker Kessler, but up until this point, they've not drafted a center. Okay, Utah sent number 21 and second round draft picks to Washington for Walter Clayton Jr. Not a bad trade for them at all. Washington will get number 21 and multiple second round draft picks simply by trading the 18th overall pick. Yeah, we're definitely getting quite a few trades now between Mark Williams. We had that trade. We had the Phoenix trade. Him going there, obviously. We had Portland making a couple trades here. Utah making a trade. So we got some trades. Not the Jaylen Brown or Derek White trade that some of you might be hoping for, but we got some trades. Portland should give us a pick back if Robert Williams, depending on what we give up. Yeah, I guess you could explore that idea with they they actually don't have a second round draft pick. That's shocking. I mean, maybe if you wanted to go the route of a future second round draft pick with them and give up um, maybe a Gabe Vincent and some salary filler. I don't know if they do that, but maybe. You think Utah is winning the draft? I like their draft so far. I really do like Ace Bailey. Walter Clayton, I think that might have been a little bit of a reach at number 18, but I liked him. Obviously, had a tremendous March Madness run at Florida. A lot of fun to watch. I'm kind of worried about if he'll be big enough to defend at the NBA level. He's more of a shooting guard rather than a point guard, so will he be able to defend twos? That's kind of the worry for me with him, but no question about his offensive capabilities. Yeah, measured in at 6'2", so little bit small for a shooting guard. Can play point guard a little bit, I guess, but I think of it more of a shooting guard. All right, we got Brooklyn on the clock at number 19. Will they take a center this time around? Will they add to their front court and maybe make Nick Claxton a little bit more available? If you're a Laker fan, you might be wanting to watch for that. Ace Bailey was crying backstage because he went to Utah. Yeah, was he crying because he got drafted or being sent to Utah? Only player we need from Portland is Toumani Camara. I love Toumani Camara, but he won't be going anywhere. How many people we got watching? Appreciate everyone that's tuned in. We're gonna keep the live going for. I think we'll go to pick number 24. But appreciate you guys tuning in. Gonna check up on a few reports here. Pick is not quite in yet for the Brooklyn Nets. Okay, update on the Walter Clayton trade. Utah sent number 21, number 43, and second round picks in 2031 and 2032 just to move up from 21 to 18. That's a lot of draft picks for simply moving up 3. That's they really liked Walter Clayton, I guess. Wow. That's kind of insane to me. 18th overall pick for 21, 43, and 2 future second round draft picks. Wow. I don't love the idea of trading with Danny Ainge for draft picks, but he actually would be trading with Portland, not Utah. Number 43 just got traded, so maybe Portland might be willing to trade that. Interesting. Let's actually pull up the NBA draft order. We'll look at a few second round draft pick teams that might be willing to trade their draft pick. Draft order. Oh. Okay, we actually have the updated picks in here too. Okay, for the second round here, Uh, the Hornets, who I've talked about, they made a trade with Mark Williams. They got rid of him. Maybe are they now looking to not trade their back-to-back second-round draft picks? Maybe. Another team I've looked at with multiple second-round draft picks has been Brooklyn. They have the number 36 overall pick. They could be a target potentially. Utah, they just traded number 43 to Portland. Does Portland have two? They do not. Toronto, they did have two at one time, I know. Interesting. Huh. So for a second round draft pick for the Lakers or any team to trade up with, the active trade teams so far have been Washington, Portland, San Antonio, and Utah. Maybe calling them up about a trade for a second round draft pick, or maybe calling the Hornets for one of their second round draft picks. I think that would take a lot to move up that high from pick 55, but could try that. I'd be looking at that 43rd pick, given that it just got traded. Portland's probably not too attached to it, especially with them already making a trade and then getting two future second round draft picks too. I think pick number 43 might be a good spot to look at here. You can always look at the OKC Thunder. They obviously don't need too much more young talent. Maybe they don't want to take up the roster spot for the 45th overall draft pick. Could maybe buy that draft pick. That might be an option too. Oops. Do I think there's any prospects left worth trading up for? That kind of depends on if you're talking about the first round or second round, and if you're talking about the Lakers or for a different team. But yeah, there's plenty of talent left in the NBA draft here. First round yet. I really like centers, I guess. I've been focusing more on that, given that the Lakers need it. I really like Maxime Reynaud. If he would fall anywhere past pick number 25, even 23, give or take, I'd maybe start looking into calling teams about their late first round draft pick, early second round draft pick. Can we get Maxime Reynaud? Can we maybe get a Ryan Kalkbrenner at that same range? I'd be interested in that. Okay, we have a few picks to catch up on though. Brooklyn, they did not in fact take a center. They took Nolan Traore. I know I've seen some reports that the Miami Heat might take him. But Brooklyn, they took a guard. They took Nolan Traore, pairing him with Trey Johnson, I think they took, if I remember correctly. So they're working on their backcourt, not their front court. Not great news for the Lakers, but that's what they're doing right now. Would I take Matisse Thybulle for Gabe Vincent? Potentially, maybe. Depending on the entire trade package, but maybe. Do I see the Lakers trading for Jaylen Brown? No, I do not. A trade for Jaylen Brown would be more shocking than the Luka Doncic trade if they kept LeBron while doing it. Yeah, that would be shocking. You would try Portland for that 43rd pick because they already made a pick. Yeah, like I said, I'm looking at that 43rd overall pick too. This is now owned by Portland, not Utah. So I'd look at that pick. I'd look at 44 from OKC. I'd look at maybe pick 40, given that Washington is trading, or, well, now it's owned by New Orleans, so scratch that. But they've been trading a lot too, so maybe they're willing to trade more picks. Brooklyn at 36 with their 5 first-round draft picks. You know, like I said, they have 10 guys in their roster right now, so they literally can't draft more than 5 people in this draft. They can't carry all of them unless they would waive somebody off their team. Yeah, like I said, they got 10 people on their roster, so they can only draft 5 people. Maybe 36, that would be a good target for them too. So between 36, 43, and 44. Probably my top 3 second round draft picks that the Lakers could trade for. Is there any player like Max Christie in this draft that are second rounders with first round potential? I know some people like Sion Johnson, if I remember his name correctly. Um, the guy from North Carolina, a lot of people like, does have some 3-and-D potential. Let's go to a mock draft so I remember all the second round draft pick names. If you're talking about a 3-and-D guy like Christie, I'd probably point to a guard like who have I been looking at actually? Oh, Sion James. That's one guy out of Duke. He kind of projects as that 3-and-D option. Isn't young like Christie. I think Christie was literally 18 or barely 19 when drafted. Sion is I think 22, so a little bit older. A different guy, RJ Lewis, coming out of St. John's, is NBA ready, does have 3-and-D ability. That's another second round draft pick like that I'd point to. Then one more, the North Carolina guy, Drake Powell. He definitely has moved up from how well he played the combine and how well he measured at the combine. At one time, he was a mid-second round draft pick, but now he's a projected late first round draft pick. That's another guy kind of like Christie to where, and he is a legit one-and-done freshman too, that he's got a lot of untapped potential. Didn't show that much during his freshman year. I'm a North Carolina fan, so I did watch plenty of him, but he's got a lot of 3-and-D upside, is a very good athlete, so any team that drafts Drake Powell, I think they could be getting a good one. You would like the Lakers to buy an early second round draft pick and keep the 55th draft pick for a wing. See, the only problem I kind of have with that is we'd be rostering 2 second round draft picks with Bronny and then potentially a veteran leader like Markieff Morris. I know he's not under contract right now, but if they bring him back, then we have 4 guys that are kind of borderline not that playable at this point, or not guys that you really want to trust quite yet, or in the case of Markieff Morris, don't want to trust anymore. So I kind of am looking only to draft one player. I definitely want them to either keep their draft pick or trade up for a higher draft pick, but I don't really want them to do both, if that makes sense to you. What's the absolute cheapest we could get for DeAndre Ayton? I'm spiraling out of control. That's funny. Given that they just drafted a big, maybe you could... The thing is, for me, it takes a lot to simply match his salary through a trade. So you're probably... Just for a baseline trade package, you're probably going Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, and Maxi Kleber to make the money work. And just trading Hachimura for DeAndre Ayton, that's a little bit worrisome for me. I like Ayton from a fit standpoint if he's actually locked in and isn't an issue off the court. But like I said, there's no stat to look up off the court issues, chemistry issues, being a... not even a locker room problem, but just from what reports say that he's kind of distant and not really a great teammate, you really can't look for that. So putting him on a contending team rather than a rebuilding team like Portland, where you didn't hear much about him and are just looking at his stats, I think that's a really big difference. Not entirely against it, but not entirely for it either. Am I Filipino? I am not Filipino. I am a part Caucasian, part Native American, and a few other ethnicities too, but those are the 2 main ones. A few other let's actually check back in on the draft. I keep forgetting about that. The Miami Heat, they did make their pick. They drafted the guy that I cannot pronounce his name, Kasparis Jaku. See, it's not going well for me. If you can put the pronunciation for that, would appreciate it. Kasparis Jakuenis. Yeah. Not getting that pronunciation. I'll hear it during a Summer League broadcast and I'll get it after that point. I hope Jeannie isn't in the way anymore. Comment. I mean, she'll be the governor for their team for the foreseeable future. That's what reports have said. So I don't know how much she really does for them per se. She's always the final say, but she's not the, GM for the team. She's not going out there and looking for trades or signing back the players in their team. I think the only thing we could really point to her with is the fact that her and part of their front office group didn't want to bring back Caruso. That's the one main thing I guess I'd point to Jeannie Buss for, but yeah, let's not go down that rabbit hole. The Utah Jazz are on the clock here, projected to take Liam McNeely or Jace Richardson. I don't like that fit for them anymore. They've taken 2 backcourt players already, so I think they probably go front court here. Either a bigger wing like McNeely, maybe a different player on the board here, but come on. What would be a good fit for them? I've seen Rasheer Fleming in different mock drafts. I've seen Utah taking him. That could be an interesting pick for them. Maybe they go Drake Powell. Might be a bit of a reach, but after Hansen Yang going to Memphis, nothing's a reach anymore. Everything else is okay. Yeah. Pick is not in quite yet. I'm really curious on the Utah draft pick front here, though. If they eventually take another big, that always kind of means, are they willing to move on from their current big? Like we're seeing with Portland, they took a big. Does that mean they're going to trade both Robert Williams and both DeAndre Ayton? Are they going to keep one and just get rid of the other one? That's something to watch out for here. No more trades coming in. I think I'm not going to say we're done with trades for the first round, but I think the bulk of the big trades are pretty much done. Lakers should go after Bob Myers. I wouldn't hate that. I wouldn't have him replace anyone, but if Mark Walter wants to get in his pocketbook and simply bring him in to be an advisor or an assistant GM, I'd be all for it. Sure. Comment. Love the videos. Always look forward from new updates from you. Appreciate you watching. Do the Lakers have any chance to get a big in the draft? Yeah, they certainly have a chance, whether they stand pat at pick 55 or trade up. There's going to be some kind of big there, depending on what pick they are at. That will kind of determine the level of big they can get, but yeah, they can get somebody. I've obviously brought up Amari Williams. I feel like I've kind of been the main push for people kind of recommending Amari Williams now. If they stay at pick 55, I'd love that pick for them. NBA ready, good athlete, good rebounder, good defender. Not the best offensive player, but at pick 55, I definitely like Amari Williams. If they go up higher, I'd like Yannick Niederhauser. If they go up all the way to the late first round, which again I don't find very likely, then maybe they could go Maxime Reynaud or Ryan Kalkbrenner. That's kind of the tier list for me, going from Maxime Reynaud, Ryan Kalkbrenner, Yannick Conan, down to a Amari Williams. Not to say that I don't like Amari Williams again, but if they're trading up, probably don't trade up just to get Amari Williams. Man, we're running out of water here. The draft is taking forever. Pick is in for the Utah Jazz. Not revealed quite yet, though. You know, it's kind of annoying for a live stream that Shams and all the reporters are not updating the draft. But if you're actually watching the draft live, it's got to be a lot better that you're not getting it spoiled for you. Because Shams and Woj in prior years, they would spoil draft picks 5 minutes before they even pop up on the TV. So even though I'm kind of in the more live stream and social media realm here, I'm actually glad they're going back to the old way, to where you're not getting every draft pick spoiled for you. So I don't mind that at all. That's probably the one good thing about Shams being at ESPN now. Oops. Lakers pick coming up. No, they have the 55th overall draft pick. That is tomorrow night. If you're not aware, the NBA draft is now a two-day format. The first round tonight, second round tomorrow night. So we gotta wait till tomorrow night for the Lakers to have the draft pick. Lakers should offer Luka for flag. That'd be funny. You like Amari Williams, Clint Capella, and Giannis. Okay, we're getting crazy at that point. Utah make their pick yet? Not yet. Okay, they did make their pick. Will Riley out of Illinois. So they went with another kind of backcourt player. Will Riley is kind of a shooting guard, small forward combo. Is definitely a bigger guard, but yeah, interesting. They're not going front court. They're not trying to replace Walker Kessler per se. Not yet anyway. They're working on their front court and their wing spot. So interesting. Utah not taking a center yet. Brooklyn not taking a center yet. The two teams that we've kind of been looking at to, if they're going to take a center, then trade either Kessler or Claxton. That's not been the indication quite yet. All right, I think we'll do 2 more draft picks, then call it a night. I might go live again tomorrow night. We'll be getting back pretty late, so going to be a toss-up, but appreciate all you guys that tuned in. We're still going to do a few more picks here, but just shout out to everyone that tuned in, everyone sticking around. Appreciate you checking in on the live stream and coming to hang out. Just a recap, if anyone's just coming in, there have been a few draft day trades. The first one, if I remember correctly, there was a trade previous to Mark Williams. The first trade of the night was kind of a lesser trade. The Spurs trading their 38th overall draft pick to the Pacers for a future second round draft pick. Then the big trade was Charlotte trading Mark Williams, former Laker, for roughly 24 hours to the Phoenix Suns for the 29th overall draft pick and a 2029 first round draft pick. A lesser trade package than what they initially got from the Lakers, in my opinion. Then after that, we got Portland trading for Cedric Howard at number 11. They gave up quite a lot to get him. They gave up the 16th overall draft pick, a 2028 first round draft pick, and 2 future second round draft picks to move up to that 11th spot. Then after that, we had the Atlanta Hawks trading the 13th overall pick to the New Orleans Pelicans for the 23rd overall pick, an unprotected 2026 first round draft pick, and I think there was a second round draft pick in there too. They took Derek Queen with that pick, by the way. Then after that, we had trade with Utah, sending number 21 and second round picks to Washington for Walter Clayton. They gave up number 21, number 43, and 2 future second round draft picks to simply move up 3 spots. So that's kind of been the trade recap. the most shocking draft pick of the night, in my opinion, has been Hansen Yang. Portland taking him at pick number 16. If you remember, or if you watched it anyway, I made a video on him. I thought at that time he would be a mid-second round draft pick at best, and he ended up being a 16th overall draft pick, so that's a shocker. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at, though. There are definitely some names being left on the board here. A few guys that are falling. A few of the guys that I thought might be taken at this point. Rasheer Fleming being one of them. I thought a guy like Austin Newell, for one, out of Georgia. I thought he would be taken. He's a power forward center hybrid kind of guy. I thought he'd be taken maybe in the late lottery. The mock draft I have pulled up here had him at 13th overall, and he has yet to be taken. He's on the board yet. Nick Clifford is on the board yet, out of a mid-major like Colorado State, but does have some good 3-and-D upside. He's on the board yet. Liam McNeely is on the board yet. He could get taken here pretty quick, though. Jace Richardson's on the board yet. He's fallen quite a bit. Prior to the draft combine, Richardson was a late lottery pick in many people's eyes, and now he might be a late first round draft pick at best. So that's tough for Jace Richardson. Other than that, though, I think if I had to put my big board left, Austin Newell would be on there. Then probably Liam McNeely. And Rasheer Fleming, I'm higher than him on most, I guess. But I really like Rasheer Fleming. Really good rim protector. Fairly good athlete. Good rebounder. Does have a 3-point shooting touch out of St. Joseph's. So him, and then Jace Richardson too. Oh, yeah. All right, couple more picks here. No updates from Shams or from Mark Stein or anything. Earlier reports said that the Bulls were looking to trade Lonzo Ball or Kobe White. That could be interesting. We've heard about the Lakers maybe having interest in Lonzo Ball, so that could maybe be a target. Maybe a Lonzo Ball reunion. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. You like what the Suns have been doing with Twin Cactus, Williams, and Maluak? Yeah, I don't mind it. I like the Maluak pick for them. They definitely completely changed up their front court, going from Yusuf Nurkic and Nick Richards now to Mark Williams and Kaman Maluak. That's quite the change. Quite a younger transition they're going in. Are they going in more of a rebuild, or are they trying to reset around Devin Booker? I guess that's yet to be seen, but yeah, they've definitely had a lot of turnover tonight. Completely changing their team up. Obviously trading Kevin Durant earlier last week. The Suns, they're dealing for sure. Agreed. Whoever does draft Rasheer Fleming, they're getting a good one. I like Rasheer Fleming. Big Rasheer Fleming fan. Let me actually pull him up for you guys that are not familiar with him. I've probably been to his B-ball reference page here more times than I like to admit. He is a little bit undersized. I think he measured in at 6'9" barefoot. I don't know if he actually went to the draft combine, but I feel like I remember seeing that. So in between 6'9", 6'10" with shoes on. Has a pretty big wingspan if I remember correctly. I think like 7'4". Yep, 7'5.25" wingspan, measuring in at 6'8.25" barefoot, so probably about 6'9.5" with shoes. That wingspan and that standing reach though, pretty great. Great, really good athlete, really good 3-point shooter for a big, is a good rim protector, is mobile enough to switch on defense. So I didn't think he would fall to the late first round, but if he does, hey, if the Lakers try to trade for him or a different team, that would be a really good pick in my opinion. Okay, here my guy went off the board. Drake Powell got taken to the Atlanta Hawks. They're definitely loading up on the good athletes on the perimeter. They now got Drake Powell, Dyson Daniels. Who else do they got? They have another good defender too. But Drake Powell, that's a really good pick for them. That's like I said, North Carolina fan, great athlete, really committed defender, even a pretty decent 3-point shooter already too. So yeah, I like that pick for Atlanta. Drake Powell is going to be a good one. Beal probably a better fit with this lineup. Yeah, I actually kind of agree with that too. I don't know if the relationship between them is too far gone at this point. I don't know how him and Devin Booker are, but if you could somehow get some value out of Bradley Beal yet, showing that he can, if he's not a third or fourth option on your team like he kind of was with Kevin Durant and Booker and all the players that had on offense with that team, if you can kind of bring him back and get more out of him, that could be a way to maybe not have to simply buy him out or waive him, maybe keep him for a bit longer. Maybe the Suns actually build something with him and Devin Booker. Maybe they're a sleeper playoff team. I don't know about that, but yeah, it could be potential. Oh yeah, Atlanta, they're going to be a great defensive team. They already were last season. They were showing it with Dyson Daniels, obviously. I think he finished third in Defensive Player of the Year, if I remember correctly. He broke the all-time record for deflections, broke the all-time record for steals, I think he might have. Tenacious defender. So having him, the Great Barrier Reef, I love that nickname for him. Drake Powell, Onyeka Okongwu. I know I'm forgetting about somebody. They got some great defensive upside. I feel like Trae Young's got to see that and kind of think to himself, what other team is going to put this many good, versatile defenders around me to cover up for me? Maybe the grass is not greener on the other side. So, yeah, I agree with that comment here. Do I like Matisse Thybulle? There have been a few comments about this. For the right price, yeah. All right, two more picks here, then we'll call it a night. And I guarantee after I shut down the live stream, then we're gonna hear about a report about the Lakers making a move up for a trade, or the Lakers are contemplating a trade. I can just see it happening now. Wait for it. Pretty much whenever I leave my house or anything, that's when the Lakers make a trade. Dorian Finney-Smith trade wasn't here. Luka Doncic trade wasn't in my house. Had to come back every time. I think the Suns are about to move Jalen Green. I feel like they really can't keep all three of Jalen Green, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker. That's such a logjam. They're all shooting guards, in my opinion. How are you going to make all three of them work? They're all fairly ball dominant. Booker can play off the ball a little bit. Obviously, showed that in the Olympics. Beal can a little bit too, but he doesn't like to. Devin Booker doesn't really like to. Jalen Green doesn't really like to. You're going to have to move one of them, I agree. And given that you can't get anything from Bradley Beal from a trade asset standpoint or a trade value standpoint, I feel like you do got to trade Bradley or Jalen Green. Maybe get one more first round draft pick for him. Maybe get a different, better fit for them. Maybe a bigger wing defender. Somebody like that. I agree. Leave the house now. I'll take one for the team. I'll go out of the state. Then they'll make another Luka Doncic kind of trade then. Pick is in for the Pelicans. Do we know who it is yet? Okay. I don't really want to click on the video because I don't want to get copyrighted, but Shams reporting on a potential free agent target for the Miami Heat. If you guys know who that is, let me know. I'm not trying to get copyrighted. Booker making like 40 coming up on a contract. Beal inconsistent. Yeah, no, I agree with you. Face reveal. Brother, I've done I think 18 live streams. You got to tune in. Appreciate you checking in, but this is not a face reveal, my friend. We've done plenty of live streams. Nope, pick is not in for the Pelicans. Actually, is this the Pelicans pick? I know they made a trade before. Okay, no. The Atlanta Hawks are picking at trade number 13 to... Yeah, okay. The Atlanta Hawks are taking... Yeah, they got back-to-back picks here. So the Hawks are actually taking... They're picking back-to-back. They picked Drake Powell at 22, and they have 23 here. This is actually for Atlanta, not for New Orleans. So, okay. And they just picked Austin Newell, who I was talking about before. He fell from a late lottery pick down to the 23rd pick. So that's a great pick for Atlanta. Apart from like the top 5 picks, I think Atlanta might have my favorite draft so far. Moving down from 13 to 23 and still getting Drake Powell and Austin Newell. That's a pretty damn good draft and some pretty good draft value in my opinion. Let's pull up Austin Newell here. Played 1 year at Georgia. 6'11" center. You know, they have him at forward, but more of a center in my opinion. Is a good all-around athlete, good all-around two-way player potentially. Does have some potential as a rim protector. Needs to get better at that, but is mobile enough to switch on defense a little bit. Does have some three-point shooting ability. Is a pretty good rebounder. Just a pretty good all-around big. Little bit of questions again with his rim protection and maybe defensive commitment, I guess. But I like what he projects as. Getting him at pick number 23 here, that's a pretty good value in my opinion. Okay, appreciate it. It was for Jonathan Kuminga. That's who they might be going after. Interesting. The Miami Heat don't have any cap space, but they are under the first apron. And if they're not, they can get there pretty easily. Okay, yeah, they're well under the first apron. They are allowed to make a sign and trade, so they could get Jonathan Kuminga going that route. I imagine that's probably what Shams is talking about here. You guys can confirm that for me if you want, but yeah, they could be going that route. If they trade Andrew Wiggins, then the reports have said they're trying to trade him for an expiring contract. That would make sense, trying to replace him with Jonathan Kuminga. Then probably not trading Bam Adebayo or Tyler Hero, pairing Kuminga with them. That would kind of fit the timeline, I guess, and with the Miami Heat's continual refusal to rebuild or really go all in for that fact. But yeah, that would kind of go with their track record. You're pretty sure the 22nd pick was traded to Brooklyn? Oh, you might be right. Yeah. Oh, no, you're right. I gave Atlanta too much credit. They do have the 22nd overall pick. So I keep all the praise I gave to Drake Powell, but I take back the praise I gave to Atlanta slightly. I still like the Austin Newell pick for them, but Drake Powell going to Brooklyn. So Brooklyn has gone all backcourt. They've taken, who have they all taken now? Drake Powell. They took Igor Demin, bigger backcourt player. Who else did they take? They only taken 2 so far, but they've gone all backcourt so far. Okay, yeah, they went Drake Powell, Nolan Traore, and Igor Demin. So they've gone all backcourt. Okay, you can agree with that. Shams said they're looking for sign and trades. Yeah, that would make sense to me. They don't have any other direction, I feel like, at this point. If they're not going to go full out rebuild with Bam and Tyler Hero, they don't have really enough trade assets to go all in for a star player. There's not really one on the market at this point. So I guess go after the biggest free agent. And weirdly enough, that kind of is Jonathan Kuminga. If LeBron wouldn't opt out anyway, if who else has a big player option? Does Harden have a player option? Kyrie opted into his player option. So Jonathan Kuminga is probably the biggest potential free agent on the board, weirdly enough. For everyone just tuning in, the Lakers, no, they have not done anything. Maybe they'll make a draft day trade tomorrow. Again, the draft is a 2-day format. First round tonight, second round tomorrow night. Lakers own the 55th overall draft pick. They have not traded it. They've not traded up so far. Maybe they will. Hopefully they package that pick and trade up to maybe 30 to 40th range. But up until this point, they have not done anything. Not that anyone should really expect them to have done anything yet, in my opinion. I never expected them to trade for a first round draft pick. You know, maybe if they traded for a player apart from the NBA draft, but I feel like that would probably come after the NBA draft. I'm looking more for them to make a draft day trade tomorrow night rather than tonight. Maybe after the draft ends, they could do it quickly tonight, then have more time to evaluate the second round players left, but I'd be looking for tomorrow night rather than tonight yet. But we had a pick come in from OKC, taking Nick Clifford out of Colorado State. Interesting that they didn't trade that draft pick. That could actually be good for the Lakers, like I talked about before. The Thunder have the 44th overall draft pick as well, and they have quite a few people on their roster. Obviously, just won an NBA championship, so how many more can they actually keep on their roster unless they convert that 44th overall draft pick to a 2-way contract? If they waive somebody off their team, they don't have room for them. So keep an eye on that 44th overall pick. I think they'll probably trade it, if I had to guess. Maybe Washington will trade the 43rd overall pick. They have the 40th, or they traded the 40th pick, but they had earlier first round draft picks. Brooklyn, keep an eye on them as well. They have 5 first round draft picks. So do they really need this second round draft pick? I guess that's up for debate. They can't really fit it. But yeah, keep an eye on 44, 43, and 36, in my opinion. If you're really hopeful, maybe 33 and 34, but probably not very likely. Okay, I think that was at the 24th pick. That was the 24th pick. That's that's the pick I promised I'd go to, so I think we're gonna wrap it up here. Appreciate all you guys tuning in. Appreciate all the comments, questions, just showing up. Genuinely appreciate it. Might go live again tomorrow night, but we'll be getting back a little bit late for the draft, so no promises. Just appreciate everyone who tuned in. Appreciate everyone who watches the videos, likes the videos, comments, everything. Genuinely do appreciate it. Don't do enough live streams, so I don't get to thank you guys enough with actually a live camera, but genuinely do appreciate it. So I think that's going to do it, though. Hopefully more trades happen immediately after the live stream ends and I leave my computer, but we'll look forward to it, and I'll talk about anything the Lakers do or reported to do after the first round ends tonight, or maybe the second round. But appreciate all you guys tuning in. I think that's going to do it for this one, though.